Before we start, I am going to welcome our one guest who has for quite a while been interested in strategic planning, and I'm glad that he followed through and was with us today. Dave, thanks for being here, keeping us honest, and thank you, Sarah and Bud, for your leadership. And then I'm just going to let you take it from here.
All right, cool. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, how come it's not working?
There you go. Now it'll work.
All right, there you go. This is what we want to accomplish today. We're just going to really kind of talk about the best way people can work together. I want to make sure we have a good understanding of what consensus means. We're going to develop a mission and vision. You already have a mission, so we're going to look at it, decide if there need to be any changes or not. We're going to create a vision and we're going to draft our values. And I'm confident we can get all that done and then plan for future sessions. All right, cool. And that's just the process. You've got the topics. It's all right there on your piece of paper. So I don't know that I need to spend any more time on that. Let's just go.
Sorry, go ahead. I knew it was right there.
There we go. Yeah, don't be punctual like that.
Sorry.
Just say your name and one word about what you hope for today. And anybody can start. First word that comes into mind.
Future.
Okay, so Marie and future.
Emerson, road plan. Oh, that's 2 words.
All right.
That's all right. We're going to let you get away with it.
It's like Joe Biden the other day. I have 2 words or he says 3.
Emily, constructive.
Laura, progress.
Sarah, creativity.
David, productive.
Eric, progress was my word.
There you go. And you would introduce yourself.
Bud, hopeful.
There you go.
There we go.
Sarah, energetic. So when you think about coming together to work on vision, mission, values, etc., after you leave today, if you're able to say, that was a great meeting and I'm making a difference, what would that meeting be like? So just take a few minutes and visualize it. You're at home, talking to a neighbor, significant other, or just reflecting in your car. You're like, man, that was great. What made it great? What was it like?
Universal participation.
Okay. Well. Next.
I was gonna say conversation, which might kind of go.
That's all right.
Accomplishments.
Meaningful collaboration.
Representative of the community.
Yeah, very nice writing.
Well, thank you.
That's why she's doing that.
Clear next steps.
Did I just hear clarity too?
Yeah. Similar.
I would say benefits for the citizens.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, my spelling is not good, but
We just put pressure on you, that's all.
I will tell you, I wasn't spelling bee though.
Clearly, they didn't say benefits. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm a terrible speller, so.
Anything else? So we want our time together reflect universal participation. We want to have conversation. We want to accomplish something. We want to have meaningful collaboration. We want to be representative of the community, have some clear next steps, clarity in our thinking, and end up with benefits for the citizens. Anything else?
Direction for the staff.
Mhm.
Anything up here that you don't agree with? It's like, yeah, I can't support that. It's all right.
Although it kind of ties to accomplishments, but positive outcomes.
How about like some baseline agreement? I mean, consensus is what it was in my head, but I'm like, well, that's like, we're gonna be talking about.
You'd like to walk out of here knowing that we're all pretty much in agreement, right? Okay. And that's kind of like consensus, actually.
So I would say in contrast to I agree, by the way, that I want to be at that point. But there should be no fear of disagreement in the discussions because we're coming from different perspectives. So how about lively debate?
That's good, that's better than deadly debate.
Again, anything you disagree with. Can you support all these? All right, so that's our goal. That's just how we want to end up. All right. Stick that on the door down there. If that's our goal, then what must each one of us do? As participants, if you want to have universal participation, conversations, accomplishments, meaningful collaboration, be representative of the community, have clear next steps and some clarity, benefits for citizens, direction for staff, positive outcomes, a baseline agreement, lively debate. What does that mean as individuals we must do?
Respect for others.
There you go. That is often the first one people put up. Way to go, David.
The one that usually goes out the window first too.
Good listening. There you go. And that's all part of respect too. Others.
Thinking outside the box.
Willing to admit you're wrong
Okay.
or don't know it all. That wrong is the wrong word, like don't know it all.
Okay, willing to accept you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning.
Challenging ideas.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Carrie.
You should have a council meeting where we bring our dogs.
No, I might have been on time.
So I'm not sure I know how to say this that fits into a few words. Yeah, surprise, surprise, but one of the things I think we also have to do is remember, this isn't our personal preferences,
Yeah.
that we are representatives having a discussion. So just because I like the idea of something as a person, that doesn't mean my representational role fits that.
So maybe you just need to remember who you represent.
Very well done. Thank you.
She said she doesn't like words, didn't they? I think she does.
I don't like doing group work. On her own, she can do it all.
I think keeping the future in mind, because we are representatives and the strategic plan should be unified, probably, past an election type of too.
What was the word you used?
Keep the future. in mind.
Keep.
Right. Your work has to go past today.
Yeah.
And even next year. These are what we're bringing to the table. That's what we want to achieve today.
Respect for one another's time. And including presenters and staff.
Number, yeah, respect, like number one, respect for others and respect time, don't overtalk.
Right.
And
Share the airtime.
airtime,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever.
Good. I'm gonna go kind of push the pendulum will swing the other direction, and that I think we need to be respectful of what we believe in. and what we've heard. So I mean, it goes to representing everyone, but I think it also goes to representing what we've heard from not only what we think we want, but what we've heard directly from people. And true to ourselves kind of idea.
So kind of reflect personal beliefs and beliefs of others.
Yeah, reflect the authenticity of what we know.
Okay,
I like to do that. So, yeah. I would say, especially when it comes to mission, vision, and purpose or values, I think a utilitarianism kind of concept should be at the forefront of our mind.
can you talk a little more about that for me?
Like the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, because our attempt is to represent the most people with our mission, vision, and purpose or values.
And often our conversations to how do we satisfy the naysayers versus the
Yeah.
majority? We kind of focus on, well, you know, they didn't say they didn't like that, but that's just might be a small population of people.
So are you wanting to please everyone? Is that what you're saying? And that's okay, I'm,
No, I'm not trying to please everyone. I think I'm trying to take into account. Not necessarily a majority view, but principles that will benefit the majority of individuals.
okay.
Pragmatism?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But in the same thread, I think we need to recognize those who've historically been underrepresented, and might need more attention to representation in this process.
So maybe it's represent all people or if you want to say, some groups talk about it as, you know, making sure the voice of the underserved is at the table. Or underrepresented, or, yeah.
Walk the talk, that we say. You know.
So maybe
we talk-
keep your equity, what do you call it, equity statement in mind. David, what are you thinking? You look like you're thinking hard.
No, I'm just reading those, that's all.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So tell me what you put.
I think equity is a good one to
I
put up
think
there.
keeping the equity,
Yeah.
or equity, it's kind of an equity vision, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, keep that in mind.
Okay. Some groups, when they go through and test whether a decision is right or not, one question they stop and ask is, how does this impact the most marginalized individuals in our community?
Mhm.
They actually stop and ask that question before they're done with their decision. Is there anything up here you can't do, won't do? Can we?
What is that, willing to accept you don't know it all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. We don't, thanks, Karen.
I'm a little late.
Word in there you want.
You don't do it all. Say it. We got it. Courageous, sure.
Awfully easy to bend those loud voices.
Yes.
Well, and if you over here want to have lively debate, you've got to be courageous enough to bring up the topic. You don't want to have a parking lot conversation. You want to have it here. Yeah. We're good? Anything you want to take off? Anything you can't agree with? See how quickly you guys are getting. Press. Now, is there anything you want Bud and I to do? Keep it on track.
Yeah.
No problem. You got it. Thank you. Keep on track. I don't have any pockets today.
Laugh at our jokes.
Sure. Just kidding, you don't write that down.
Too late.
Well, I was kind of surprised laugh didn't come up over here. Okay.
So natural.
It's just a given,
Right.
yeah.
Just a given. I can have a dry sense of humor, so there you go. Anything else you want from us?
Well, ask for clarification.
Sure. Because probably if we don't get it, somebody else probably doesn't either.
Mhm.
Hey, bud, can we do that? Keep on track, laugh at jokes and ask for clarification. All right,
Give us prompts.
not a problem. All right. I think we're good. Oh, you and I can do this, right? All right. Okay. Oh, thanks. At the subcommittee meeting, we talked about why do strategic planning. And this is really what the group came up with. Can somebody read number A and then somebody else read B, et cetera, just to bring the words into the room?
Achieve transparency with our community.
Organize the ideas and actions for the future.
Create focus.
Hold the organization accountable for goals and objectives.
Create forward movement.
Determine how best to invest time and financial resources.
Create alignment with the world as it is today.
And I have the word up there as other in case somebody has, from this group that wasn't in that meeting, has something that they would like to add as to why do strategic plan. Did they pretty much cover it? Actually, without reading the literature right ahead of time, a lot of these would be reflected in professional literature as to why you do strategic planning. Especially the creating forward movement and creating focus. All right. So what is consensus then? It's really just when a group comes together and they make a decision and nobody's going to sabotage it. Doesn't mean everyone has their first choice. That kind of goes with, I think David said earlier, about accepting you don't know it all. Somebody might have a little bit better idea, or it might change to make sure the group feels okay. And it only means you have to have enough people in favor of it to get it carried out, and no one will really be an obstacle. They're not going to go out campaign against it. If that's the case, then you should stay at the table and keep talking. And Emerson, I'm going to pick on you a little bit and give an example. We had the golf cart situation.
Mhm.
And it took a long time to craft all the rules around, if we say okay to golf carts, what do we need to make it okay? Emerson didn't like the idea of golf carts, as my guess.
No.
But you helped the group work to the point where you felt like, okay, if this passes, I can live with this. I'm still gonna vote no, because I'm gonna stick to my heart of what I think is right. But it is at the point where you were gonna walk out and campaign against it in the newspaper. So while he didn't necessarily agree 100%, he got to the point where he wouldn't work against it.
But then I got to the point where if we're gonna do this, I like to see this, and this.
Right,
Part of the.
Right. right. And you had that discussion as a group together. So while the vote consensus isn't a vote, that would be the thing that would be different about when you're making final decisions, you folks will vote. But you can have somebody vote no, even and make a commitment, but I'm not going to work against it. It means everybody has the ability to say, I understand what most of you would like to do. I personally would not do that, but I feel that you understand what my alternative would be. I've had sufficient opportunity to sway and influence you. to my point of view, but clearly have not been able to do so. Therefore, I'll go along with what most of you wish to do. That's what you want to be able to say in your head and your heart. It means all participants contribute. It means everyone can paraphrase the issue. It means you have a chance to describe your feelings. And those who continue to disagree indicate they're willing to go along for a prescribed period of time. Meaning we'll try this for X amount of years or whatever. Then can we revisit it to make sure it's still working? Or it might be 2 weeks. And you all share in the final decision because you've all had a voice. It's not a unanimous vote. It's not that everyone agrees, it's just enough need to be in favor of it to get it carried out. And it's not usually everybody's first choice. Because your thinking changes as you have open dialogue. Here's some rules. You try not to argue your position. You don't assume somebody must lose. You don't change your mind just to avoid conflict. You change your mind because you want to, because you learned something different than maybe what you were thinking before. You try not to do things like coin toss, averaging, because when you average things, probably nobody is happy at that point, or you caved. And you seek out those differences of opinion. You have that lively debate so that people's viewpoints are out there. And we're at consensus when we can say, I believe I understand your position. I believe you understand my position. I'll support the decision because it was arrived at openly and fairly. I will not undermine the decision, and I can live with this. You want everybody in the room to be at that point when you're at consensus. That's why elections don't build consensus. You don't have that opportunity to get there.
Sarah, I have a question on this previous slide where it said avoid arguing your own position. Is the key in not the arguing word?
Right. You want to present your position,
I'm like, explain why.
right? Explain it, right?
Defend it. No.
Right. Right.
Okay.
And you want to be able to think, all right, maybe I could change my mind a little bit. You don't want to be so stuck in, this is the only way we can do it, that you're not hearing ways your thinking could shift possibly based on what you're learning from others.
And then the comments.
But you
of
also
others.
don't want to give up your values. You know, if you really, you know, just go ahead.
And if the comments of others will get us to the same ending point, that's okay.
Right, exactly. Mission statements.
Can I?
Yep, go
I
ahead.
agree in everything in theory and what that consensus is, but we're in a different scenario here. This is elected officials representing the
Absolutely.
community. And voting is the way we represent to a certain degree. I disagree with the concept that I have to walk away and say, I'm not gonna argue against this. And that's why I thought this whole idea of strategic planning within a governmental organization like this, like at the elected level, is kind of silly. I agree because I'm willing to come in if everyone else is,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not willing to necessarily agree to that principle there.
The arguing part,
To say that this was worth it.
Oh, okay. All
You
right.
know, I'm not willing to say that, like, we'll see what happens, but
That's all right.
I'm not on board with to say that this strategic planning concept for Webster Groves is the right way to do it.
Okay, well, and David, you're probably right here.
Yeah.
And where's the one that, it's, yeah, I can't remember which slide it's on. But for a specific period of time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to engage in this for 2 years, for heaven's sakes. You're willing to give it a try.
Yeah.
And at the end, you may still say this was a waste of time. Or you might go, all right, that wasn't a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because you might learn something different along the way.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm so excited. Can't believe this is happening. 2017, this was my vision, that we'd be sitting at the table like this, starting to create a strategic plan for the city. And here it is, it's finally happening. So I'm just tickled pink. We're gonna talk about the mission first, okay, then we'll get into the vision. Vision, mission, vision up there. Talk about the difference between the two. Well, let me just ask you, what is, why do we need a mission and a vision? What's the difference between them?
One is what we're gonna do, and the other is how we're gonna do it.
I think, but I feel like mission is now and vision is
Yes,
future.
absolutely.
And I also think mission is what we can accomplish at the moment, and vision is what we aspire to be.
Yes. What we're doing now to make this city great. Things we do every day, routine. They're assigned to somebody, we know who does that, who's responsible for doing that. So we know what we're supposed to be doing when we come into this office every day. So that's what, now what about a vision? Tell me about a vision.
Well, I think it does kind of speak to the future, but it's also kind of like the why, like why we're doing vision, like why we're doing.
Not quite.
It's aspirational.
Aspiration.
I say what we'd like to see.
Yeah. What do I want to be when I grow up? Okay, what would I like to see? What is that vision in the future, 2, 3, 4, 5 years out? That's achievable. Okay, it's achievable. Can be digested easily by the people that read it, understand what is done to get there. And that's just the next step, though. The step we won't talk about today is how do we do that vision? How do we accomplish that vision? So is it whatever the vision is that we come up with, that you come up with today? Hopefully by the end of this session, we'll have a good vision statement. But we'll set that aside for a minute. Let's get back to the mission. Let's look at the mission that we have. I gotta put it up for me. I got it.
You did.
You get upside down. Okay, Webster is committed to providing professional, efficient, and responsible services to working with citizens to enhance its position as a premier place to live, work, raise a family in a traditional yet progressive community. You're thinking, is that what we're doing?
I question the progressive part.
Yeah, stuck on traditional, but they don't.
Right.
Progressive.
I think if you put the period after family.
Let me just end it there.
Yeah, I'm not arguing for that to be our mission, but I'll be honest, and I've said it before, the traditional yet progressive, I really don't understand what that means. Those two words mean very different things, and to put them together and trying to be both at the same time is, I don't know, recipe for failure in my mind. And I don't think we have to choose between them necessarily. I'm just not sure that language represents a meaningful mission.
I mean, I think of those two words as too narrow, and we're trying to characterize our community when I'm not sure we need to characterize our community. I feel like our community is made up of a bunch of individuals to be respected, and they are who they are without definition.
Well, we've accomplished one thing then. The thing was, do we leave it alone and accept it as it is, or do we need to change it? So I've heard enough to say we need to change it. So let's do that now. Let's do that now. Give me some
I'm
words.
sorry, why would we change the mission? Well, just because we disagree, I mean,
Good
this
point.
is gonna be a long-term thing. It has been a long-term thing. I haven't really heard too many people in the community say, oh, we need a new mission statement, because I'm not sure what Webster Groves is doing.
Well, that's an issue because how many people even know we have a mission statement?
So what's the point of having a mission statement, you can ask?
Gives the organization purpose.
I agree. I mean, I'm willing to give the staff direction, but to make this a definition for the citizens and make this an elected leader thing, it's like, well, make the city manager.
So it should be public.
No, you know what I mean? If it's gonna be for the staff, that's your job.
Well, it's staff direction, right, from council.
Yeah, I mean, I think the vision kind of makes sense because we enact the vision, she ensures that it gets carried out. This is her job, the mission.
But
But this is-
Keep vision out of this, because vision.
I
is the
am,
future.
yeah, but I'm just saying, I understand why we would look at the vision for us as elected leaders. I don't understand the mission though.
so I would say one of the things, just beyond my not liking, not liking the last phrase is, one of the things that's not represented in here at all is the issue of equity, which we've talked a lot about over the, so equitably working with citizens to enhance our position, to inclusively working with citizens, you know, because that to me, David, is what's, I get exactly what you're saying. And, you know, to me, we could put a period after family and just move on probably. But on the other hand, we've talked a lot about some values that are not at all reflected in there. And I know we're going to talk about a list of values, but clearly that's got to be related to the mission as well.
But we did enter an equity statement, right? Like for us to incorporate the word equity in everything that we're putting out to the public seems kind of an overkill.
Disingenuous.
Yeah. So like, I mean,
So maybe
let's
from that
start being
perspective,
genuine.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's a vision part and not a mission part.
Yeah. Okay.
Please.
And it's just regarding if you put that period after raise a family, to me, there's a lot of value statement in raise a family. I would say the live and work. Not everybody wants to raise a family. Families look very different. That family has such a traditional lens.
yeah,
You know, what does that mean? So I think there's a lot of equity even in how we phrase it without using the word equity. Just my thoughts.
I agree.
Well, but a family. So you're saying. I think a family is a bigger thing, not a narrow thing,
Could be.
The
like
raising
open
the-
definition.
Yeah, raising
I
a
think the
family
raise
is
the
like,
family.
Oh,
has a very
Okay,
traditional statement to it.
I don't know if this is a
Being
mission
family?
thing or like a values thing, but when I read this, I just don't feel any like warmth or passion or like why we really do this. Like it's very like down to bit professional, efficient, responsible. Like we also want to provide like, I don't know, like be empathetic to our citizens and be creative with them and be warm and, you know, like
Just a word of caution. You don't want this to turn into a long paragraph.
no, but I'm just saying like
Very short.
for me, when I look at it, that's the piece that's missing is any kind of like warmth or emotion or like why we want to do this.
So we want to maybe talk about our values a little bit before we tackle this, I guess, like, because I think what
Yeah.
we're talking about is like what's missing is core values, right? Like that's what's maybe not reflected in the mission. So wouldn't it be maybe better if we visit that first?
We can always come back to this. You know, I'm hearing that it needs to be tweaked to some degree,
Right.
Yes.
is that right?
I think
Even if it's put a period here, that's a tweak.
part of me wants to just scrap it and start over without looking at that anymore.
right.
And maybe we'll arrive at the same place, but at least we've gone through the process of really measuring and talking about who we are.
Yeah, because we're saying the mission of the city, not our mission as we see
Yeah,
here.
not
We're
us.
talking about the mission of the city.
And then if you look at the words, Webster was committed to providing a premier place to live, work, and raise a family. And all those other words, how are we gonna do that? By professional, efficient service, responsible services. The-
I wonder if that's why it's bolded. I mean, for the original writers, I mean, I took this right off the website, I didn't know.
yeah.
I didn't know
Say
that.
this. You remove any word from this. That is gonna be the thing that sticks out in citizens' minds, and they're gonna say, well, why'd you remove raise a family? Why'd you remove professional? I'm not saying that it's wrong, I'm just saying that's what's gonna stick in their mind. They're not gonna read the new mission statement, they're gonna read what's now missing. from the mission
I doubt they even know the mission statement as it is.
They really know it. I've been living here for 90.
But wouldn't it, if it was something we felt like proud to put on the city, like I, you know, and share, like I guess it's not today to
Let
me,
me
like.
ask you a question. Did you get a chance to really look at some of the stuff I sent you? You know, all kinds of different sizes, particularly cities the size of Webster village. The different kind of mission statements that are out there, the different kind of value statements that are out there. So I was hoping that that gave you a taste of something we're looking for. This needs to be very simple about what do you think the city is doing right now? What's Maria there doing right now? What are the directors doing right now?
Well, I think we can't lose sight of the fact that fundamentally, we're in the service provision business. I mean, no matter what else we do, we need to maintain parks, maintain streets, provide public safety. And so fundamentally, that's when people pay their taxes, that's what they're expecting from us. And so I do think there's a reason that, you know, those adjectives go with services up there, because yes, I want to do it equitably. I want to make people want to come to Webster Groves. And that's the other thing that's not in there. Inviting anyone to visit, or, you know, and we know that. So, I mean,
And I mean, as a citizen, one of the things that sticks out and that I do hear from citizens is what they appreciate are the services.
Yeah.
Because when it snows, streets are clean. You know, when what did we learn in the coalition meeting the other night, Bud, you can call the fix-it number and yeah, they get a fix-it ticket. I mean, there's a level of service here.
Responsiveness.
Responsiveness that we have and we appreciate, and I don't think it's taken for granted.
well, and I think, you know, fundamentally, government's about providing collective goods.
Yes.
And services,
Yes.
and, you know, whatever else we do, the public expects us to do that.
Right.
I mean, what we're saying is what our end of the agreement is, what we're responsible, what we will be responsible and accountable for.
What we're currently doing now.
Correct. If you were to live here or work here, this is what we will be responsible for.
It's what people can expect.
Mhm.
Right.
It's your purpose. It's why it exists.
But I
Otherwise,
do,
you could be unincorporated, like.
After.
Right.
but I do feel like it would be good for us to go through our values before we commit to this thing.
Well, that's what's already being done now.
I think that I understand your point, but I think the way many of us think, it's hard for us to get that conversation going until we've had this other conversation. It's just kind of a sticking point in at least my brain, because that's where I keep wanting to go, to values and how do they relate to this.
Oh, we could do values before we do vision too. There's no, I mean, hey,
It doesn't matter.
we're flexible. It doesn't say, lift that up there, but. Say it.
I would add in just from a staff perspective, I mean, we are committed, you know, it's sort of passive, right? It's not what we're doing.
Yeah,
It's some statements that really don't even hold ourselves accountable, right? I mean, this mission statement doesn't say much. And Laura, to your point about services, I mean, there's nothing that says we have to do any of those services, right? I mean, what level of services we're going to provide is something that we make a compact with the community. We don't
Yes.
have to have parks. That's a choice we made, and we can unmake it if we wanted to. And then we're going to do it just, you know, I mean, but that concept of staff guidance, right? I mean, that's, from my perspective, one of the problems that's really missing. What are we supposed to do? You know, I mean, we just keep things running. We're reacting to the way things always have been.
Yes.
Not looking at
Exactly.
what we're doing
Yes.
now to plan for.
I do think that premier place to live, work and raise a family, even if you think out raise a family, live and work, that's a really good direction, I think, for the staff. A premier place, especially in St. Louis County.
Well, if you wanted to add visit to live.
Yeah.
Visit, I mean, if you want outsiders to come
Yeah.
in, frequent your shops, frequent your restaurants. You want to have as lively a downtown as some other places do close to you.
And I think
Yes.
that it's important to define premier, right? Like, I mean, I think
I
that
didn't
equity
really say.
principles that Laura just brought up are extremely important to think. That's how I think of premier, is that we are equitable and that we are not only doing a good, responsible, professional job, but that we're also taking into the equity concepts.
Let's go to values then. Okay. 1 or 2 word values.
Well, if you want to use the process we designed or.
Which one are we at?
yeah, let's use this process.
Which-
we designed.
Am I on?
Right there.
Right there? Back where I was?
Yeah.
I don't know what it called.
That's all right.
You wanna-
Ethical, is that one?
Well,
We're gonna go through.
but can we use the process maybe?
I'm sorry.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. So you think about values, it's that set of beliefs that organizations base all their policies and actions on. And so if you have a policy on, we're gonna have parks. You're gonna have them because it fits with our values. If you're gonna build a prison, it fits with your values. Probably, if I think of the values we might end up with, that might not be one that you folks would support. Because it might not fit, which I don't know if it would or not, but. But I couldn't think of anything else, but they guide your decision making. So Pam had articulated these in a document that the subcommittee looked at and probably you folks all saw. Inclusion, fiscal integrity, consistent land use, open communication, shared resources, and foundation of the arts. I'm not sure where those came from. Can somebody tell us?
It came from all of us actually on the subcommittee,
Okay,
and those were common themes found in a lot of our actions, our tactics, things we accomplished.
okay.
And something we would, and things we would aspire to have.
Yeah, so that's a kind of a nice start, to be honest. What I'd like us to do is just have you go into small groups. And we'll probably put 3 in each group. And I'm gonna give you a stack of note cards and a marker. And I'll put these back up so you remember them. And what I want you to do is write one value you feel like needs to be included on each card. So if you want to write down the word inclusion on one card, next card, next value. And pick 5 that you're like, gotta have these.
5 of these.
5 values. It doesn't have to be those.
Whatever.
Doesn't have to be those. And when you think of values, say we value blank, and you want it to be, remember, we want clarity. We want it understandable for the community. And you wanted to give some guidance for staff. You're representing not only your own personal values, but the values of the people you represent. So that kind of goes back to what we agreed to do earlier. I think so far we've been good about being lively debate, having conversations, challenging each other's ideas. I think we've been good about that. So let's do that in small groups, and I think we can just stay in this room. So let's just number off 1, 2, 3. 1. Karen, you're a 2.
3.
1,
2.
3.
1.
2.
3.
Okay, 1s, how about just gather down here at this end of the table? 2s, gather down where Laura is,
Actually,
and
3s, we can just go next door.
3s
Wait,
go
am I a
next.
2 or a 3?
So 2s are going next door. 1, and I'll bring you materials.
That's right. Candle burning.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. And it's warm bagel smell.
So what are we doing? Is it 1s here?
1,
3s are
1, 3, 2.
Are you being where I am?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it. I'm coming. I'm.
There we go.
She's gonna sign to be work.
Oh,
So then we each individually write 5 words.
don't be that.
No, sorry.
Start with your own.
Okay.
And get a consensus to the 5 you're gonna submit.
What kind of time?
We each do 5 and then we do 5.
10 minutes, 15 minutes.
I don't know.
Ran a mile this morning. So, yay.
Yay.
Family updates. Is it just the 3 of us?
It's the 3 of us.
Okay.
We're gonna go through,
Oh,
figure
boy.
out consensus amongst.
I got the
three of us.
efficient people in my.
Make sure.
Everybody writes down.
5-year old.
Okay.
Get a consensus on.
So we write 5 of our own and then.
Necessarily. You can't put it as a group.
okay.
First.
Okay.
So we could.
I wouldn't do 5 on your own is, you know.
I got conflict of interest.
We are. You guys just brainstorming all together now? Or are you doing this as a group?
It seems to be a solo activity.
It's not supposed to be a solo
But
activity.
they have cards.
And you don't?
Sorry.
Okay. Well,
Well, and so
let me.
Not right now.
Yeah, you don't need 5.
Like, I don't know.
I'm scrolling down some of mine. Go ahead.
Okay, so,
No,
okay, okay.
You two have it.
Want us to share? So
Clearly
cultural
we didn't work on
diversity.
this
Yeah, let's just turn those, you can hang on to them. See, she's got a personal list
I
going.
like-
It's kind of
If you want to, you've got some going. I would say, okay, David, tell 1.
I think we value democracy,
So
democratic
so
principles.
whoever's
Can I
gonna
just write
record
over
it,
his? Sure, I mean.
or just turn it over to a bigger letter. I want to be able to see it from afar. Democracy real big there. I read, what's one of yours?
Data informed decision making.
That's kind of, I got facts and science.
So could you like merge those and create one?
I.
What would
I
you
think on
like
the
it to be?
creativity side, I think we're.
And then it's your
looking
turn.
more in creative.
I like data a lot. I
People
think,
as a
yeah, following the
community
data is the
that
same thing as
are-
following facts, science.
So you're okay with like
So we
data
got
informed decision making?
creative
Alright.
involvement,
So
creative.
You're just gonna write that down. We
So
can
what
use
are
that
we-
side of that card later.
How does that creativity?
Thank you for
I
writing.
understand.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, I think.
Handwriting suggestions.
Like
And then
I
Emily,
think
it's your
about
turn.
I'm writing.
No, you get a turn. Your voice counts.
easy, like, that's not the right word. Like.
I would say,
Participation.
All right, write that down.
It's almost a creative
Got it?
entrepreneurship.
And then when you've got all your ones you want, you're gonna pick the 5 that you really want to share with the group. What are the
It's not
5
always
most important?
business related, right?
No, I mean, even just, you know, just that idea of like creative builds, you know, whether it's like painting or.
Yeah, we just put that quick.
Entrepreneurship, not a business necessarily, just whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the unique things about this.
that's only 3 words.
Sure, it could be.
They will be
He said
said
more creatively. I just said it.
We had talked about.
Like, yeah, that's,
I had
that's,
a couple.
this
that-
would be a value that would give you.
Equity and policy thinking, I think
Yeah.
is a value.
Well,
We talk a lot
so
about
I
equity.
always,
You
I like
could
that,
say
who
we
I
value
am,
equity.
and for me, that also goes back to budget, how do we invest in staff?
You know,
It's not just creating a supportive.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the new
Yes.
training.
I get that, yeah, like I think that's fair,
I haven't. I should say that, say a premier place because we priced a lot of people out.
right, right.
And we.
And I think this also
value
then
that.
takes into,
So-
into a certain degree.
I think my
the
biggest value
importance of,
of all this, because we haven't talked about. is
uh,
adaptability.
how we
We're
spend
not
our
an
money.
organization.
Yeah, there's a
Or
lot of
a
physical.
local community.
Yeah.
And my second value, I
As
think,
well
is
as
that
equity.
we need. to
Yeah.
lead the community.
Yeah.
Waiting for the community to tell us what they
So
want.
there's
It's going to be-
responsiveness.
It's going to be,
Yeah.
someone, we have to pull them in some ways.
And I think when we do, and we do
Yeah.
it successfully,
Mhm.
Bracelets, pretty.
I mean, because it has
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah.
but you have,
Right.
you know, you have. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, it's an intentional.
Yeah.
Do another one.
So putting that into values, what is that?
Leading the community.
Right, you have one on the
Yeah,
other side.
I was
mean, I,
It's like you
thinking-
don't have to flip it if
I
you
don't
want to.
know. I mean, I've never been one that believes that, you know, the community just. People need to be there, right? I mean,
Struggle with
every
the
day says,
foundation of the arts.
expect us to be.
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Well, this
Maybe-
kind of
maybe-
goes back
maybe
to the
strong-
idea of like, what is the role
Strong
of
leadership.
the
Strong
Yeah.
people. I
It
think
is.
it is something.
Yeah.
about the-
I think it's part of our communication.
Trying to figure out, and
It's also the
too, is like-
engagement of,
Have the
Not just
mission
a-
for the city, right?
and it's really.
Or mission
I don't
values,
know how to explain
like
it.
the city
One
as an
simple word.
entity, we have council as an.
Well, it's
entity, we have
leadership, almost like,
staff,
right, it's being able to say.
And then just be like in line.
Yes.
Yeah.
there's-
We also
there's
like the
line,
city,
And
city
then.
government. and the
Yes,
city
I-
of Webster. And what is our responsibility? I know Eric talks about that all the time, you know, like, and what.
What is our role?
Effective community leadership, like it. it's
And
just
if
like-
we have
like-
something that's our value.
Yeah, no, I-
How do we help
Because
make sure
I
that?
agree about the
happens?
community collaboration part of that. We're never gonna get beyond where the community wants to go. But I don't think our community knows where it wants to go in some regards, right?
Well,
So how do you help
I
bring
agree.
them to that place where you want to go and lead them into a space that's comfortable?
For me, like, this is all relatively still kind of.
Effective community
New
leadership,
thoughts.
what I said, but like.
Well, then it's like,
But
how do
then
you
it's about-
separate those?
It isn't like.
That's
it's
not
not-
separate, you know, like-
Right, like it's not just
The
a,
city,
like.
like community versus the city government, those, you know, do be kind of, we want to be aligned in some way.
Yeah.
Supportive.
And to have effective community leadership.
Maybe so-
I guess, there's other values that can be tacked to that.
There
Yeah,
is.
city staff could sit down
I just-
and create their
I-
own, that's
No offense,
support.
but I mean, like,
the
you all
community-wide
expect to be
ones.
a council member.
But how's
the
they,
role of,
how do
okay,
they,
we are
what other
essentially
ones do they
becoming the
define for
first fully-
themselves as
You know
a
what I mean? And
group
really
of
bring
employees
the
to
whole
help
community with us.
implement all
It is part of
I
your.
mean, I think the other thing is diversity.
There's not been a
probably.
value built into. what it
The
means
way
to
that
be-
we, and I don't mean just like diversity of race and gender, but diversity of thought, diversity of religion.
The broader
diversity of,
base.
yeah, socioeconomic class.
But next year, last comment, you know, it's a form of accountability, you know, with the effective, community leadership. That's.
Everyone's
That's a nice
kind of what you said,
law.
and like, or at least I think it
statement
is.
where you can put it all
It is
out
that
there.
staying within our role, because government I mean, we're there.
I think we value like.
For that neutral line.
I think about
Should
things
be
that
like the
played
truth
just the
tellers
last
and
few
grounded in
years.
that fact. So it makes me think of COVID, you know, it may not be the popular thing to have vaccination sort of
Right.
Yeah, but
to not.
I can
cause the
like
social
neutral.
issues.
We're not
Yeah.
gonna balance everything. Like in that way.
No, I'm more than happy to say neutral trust.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, we should be that
Damn,
trusted
if you think
source
this is
at all
right,
times,
yeah.
even when it's hard.
Well, and
For the most part, local government has right
been in
now.
many
School
meetings
boards are
where
starting to
there's
roll.
citizen nexus, right? Like,
That's exactly right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's what I get better.
Takes me to
We don't wanna be
the
that.
Yeah. Yeah,
What it
I,
is.
you know, and I think, I mean, we're having this conversation now. Like,
Yeah, I
look
know,
at
right?
the role of local government, just look at with the flooding.
let's see.
Like, I really, I mean, I think of it as a philosophical question, but you know, it's easy to remove yourself from that philosophical.
Accountability,
question.
mutual
These people
trustworthy,
are-
effective
it's easy
community
enough to
leadership,
say, oh,
creative
I just manage, but it's like, what is that
Mutual trust
precedent?
and,
Couldn't that be the standard that the government doing it? Otherwise, we will increase taxes more and more.
Well, then what do we do when the state and federal government
Exactly.
won't do it?
Yep.
And it's one of our values.
Mhm.
That's a sticky.
Yeah.
Go with.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
it should be the responsibility of state and
Yeah.
federal government.
leading the community, which.
But we also believe that it's important they're not
Diversity and
Yeah.
And we
inclusion.
could do
Culture.
it, like
Yeah.
those types of things are not
That's a
really.
good
I
selection.
don't think we should be the ones doing whatever it is, but nobody else is gonna do it. We want it done.
4, 5,
Is that
6, 7.
where, rather than us then becoming the doers, because
I
I think you said Preston or maybe you did, and we may not be able to.
Oh,
Is that where? it
Well,
happens?
you can always say anything that we
Yeah,
can
That's where you all
combine.
use your voices to.
I think, I feel like accountability.
That is something I
goes
think
with-
that we don't do a
Because
good enough job about is like
About like the future trust and
advocating
being accountable for
how
it.
great our municipality is for
We're
this.
accountable to the
I mean, we do a lot of
city.
like, oh, how can we make it better? But we are doing a really good job.
Right, like, I mean,
And I don't think that we
That's
show
bad word. I mean,
the surrounding community
Oh,
or
we
the
can also-
state
Yeah,
effectively
use of
that, hey,
these
Webster
two
Groves isn't.
Yeah.
you know, Like, we're just, you can continue moving forward, right? Progressing
Yeah.
and still be okay.
Yeah.
Mutual trust, mutual
It doesn't mean
trustworthiness.
everything's
Yeah.
terrible.
Creative.
Yeah.
entrepreneurship,
Yeah. And look at what more we could do is if
I
you
would
would give
say
us some more
5 minutes.
resources, or if you would give us.
Five.
more leeway, like, kind of-
Go first way.
You know, it's like simple stuff like that.
We got
that's-
5 minutes.
All right, well, I'm gonna write that one down before.
We
I
have
lose it.
7.
Which one?
5 these,
What do we
or
do?
we can.
We combine it with
We said mutual trustworthiness and respect, is that?
Okay,
Yeah.
oh, and accountability was in there too now, right?
Well, do you need?
I definitely think equity and data
That
is and investing in staff. I think
encompasses
this
everything we
goes to
wanted
like
to
how
say,
we.
or who's accountability, or accountability is sustainable.
And that's our number one job.
That was the only way.
Effectively spend our money wisely for the best.
And I, this one, 'cause I think it's,
I don't, like,
like
it's,
they're democratic.
like, if I'm
ideals that
saying
we're
our value,
supporting.
my value, or I value.
Kind of
is
go
there.
to that little conversation.
Ability, right? Like,
That is a good question, though. I never thought of it that way. Like,
Readiness and
if
respect.
state and federal government are doing it, we have the resources to do it. Should we do
I think
it?
it comes
Yeah,
down.
That's a really
you
good
know, right, I
question.
mean, you're not gonna find
So do
me.
we want to add
if
one
I'm
of
not
these? or
accountable to you,
whatever?
trustworthy,
A new fifth one.
you know, so.
Do I need to say, I'm talking about the community here,
I think,
like.
I think that's.
I like diversity.
Mutual trustworthiness,
That's important.
Well, what would you?
Over there.
Both hands, right? I mean, right.
And I think
Two
we-
and with.
Yeah.
Want to take a chair. So
Yeah.
Was there the word that you had said when you were talking about?
Which one wants to do we agree on the community leadership concept that we're?
It's advocacy, but like there is a word that I was like she was.
Not as a standalone, right, read out fine.
We gotta grab the movement.
All coming back.
Or combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's actually.
Like, I mean, a lot of those are more.
Get that, that's better.
That's emotional, and I do think there is emotional aspect of it, right? And so government
So
automatically
equity
is
and
taking
policy
into
making,
account the
right?
emotional aspect. So I think doing an emotional word like compassion.
Yeah, we value
Is
that.
that something we
That would be
combine
good.
with diversity and inclusiveness? To me, those are. What are.
Because like it goes closer to the idea like, oh, this person's house burned down, so that's why they haven't cut their lawn, you know, it's like, it's okay for a city government to take that into account.
Best way to combine, what we would combine.
That in terms of,
Yeah.
it's an overused
Well,
word,
so-
but being agile.
Yeah.
Is that, are you speaking really to like?
Yeah,
a conversation
exactly.
like that? Okay.
Be respectful of what everyone has a life.
Exactly. Yes.
I think we do a good job. of telling it.
Correct.
If that's what we got.
I remember the. I think it's sometimes too much. A lot of people are like, why do they have to go through this process? And it's like, well, this is just get better than us being like.
We create businesses, we are artistic, we have like, and those things are.
Like, you like agile better.
It's in front of your action, I was.
Trying to think what the actions behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think another one that,
Create
that the
events
food
like
pass
that.
is a good example of this, where it's like the city is working with an outside
Okay.
partner in order to. make
So
sure
we agreed on
there's
equity,
an
diversity, inclusion.
Right.
We'll put it in there then.
Is that okay?
And that's something we didn't have to do, you know, that could have just been an outside resource, or we could even put the kibosh on it, say, no, we don't want to have to deal with this, but. We think to have staff resources and time and letters and the emails and shit like that, so.
Your Jenny would love that.
Language.
Actually, she would.
And then.
Just
we have-
put that around description.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative nature.
That's culture of.
Have to be the owner. So like, or-
Yeah,
What
Yeah.
about collaborative?
Need help and stuff.
Yeah. I'll keep you up to date.
We can be the human news all day.
Because that kind of includes like
I like
being flexible,
Yes.
creative.
How about a minute?
You got your card? You want to? Okay. We need, Karen's got our card. So
yeah, she was good, yeah, she was good, we're going to.
1 minute, 11 seconds.
At the end of the.
About that term.
Yeah, so
You guys picture 5?
we're trying
Yeah.
to figure out what we're gonna do, we'll test our marriage and who's driving, so the other side. Yeah. Yeah, so like we go like, it's kind of cool. We fly to Dublin and then they give us a car, then we like each night we go someplace else. It's, yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of like, the hard part is like, they tell you like what's around the hotel, like on the way there, there's a lot of cool things, so I've been doing like. Following the roads and it's spent way too much time. Unfortunately, we're gonna be right on the border. I thought about crossing and just saying.
Okay.
But Belfast is so far up. and
Yeah.
I'd rather stay.
Yeah. to try to create.
Did you? Is it cool? Well, then,
We didn't not carve it.
all right.
So we did.
The one county we're not going to that I really want to, because my family's. We don't value Work County. It's just barely happened, and what we're gonna do instead.
Simply a resource for giving
School. I'm thinking that's, you know what? I was Googling it and seeing what was there. They have a grandfather clock made out of pure crystal. I'm like, what is this? Oh, that's cool. That.
That works. Okay, that's all we did. I think, we're on.
It's like that.
Then I'll get out.
You want us to be back there? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you did.
I got to sit in the mayor's chair.
That's what I would.
All right. Did we wait till over?
Put that in my firm.
Yeah, it's just.
All right, this is phase 2. This is what this is gonna look like. Group 1 is gonna bring their spokesperson and their cards. And share those. So group 1.
I'm group 1.
All right,
I don't
group
think
1, come
staff
on
should
up.
be the spokespeople.
I'll go.
All right, excellent.
All right, come on up.
Don't have to ask me twice.
I appreciate that. All right, what do you got?
Democracy. Equity. Investing in staff.
I hope you don't mess up the paint.
Good job, Mayor. Good job, Mayor.
Okay, let's manage the list of the dates taken in this group.
Yeah. Collaborative.
All right. Does collaborative kind of go with democracy, or do you see it as completely separate?
We
concept?
were trying to figure this out because we were thinking, how we got to collaborative was we were thinking, oh, there's a, emotional or a human toll to everything government does, and so. We were trying to take into account that like, compassion and
Work
empathy
with
part of it,
people.
and then working with others and stuff like that.
So we'll keep it here for now, the separate ended.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Group 2.
We didn't, we.
Oh, we're
You're actually.
Good for now. We put us out of order.
Stewardship of resources.
You don't need mine all.
I'm sorry.
I think that would go under investing in staff.
But it's not just staff.
No, but I think they're similar, right? Yeah.
Water.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
definition of
that,
resources,
definitely.
yeah,
Yes.
that could be, this is a resource underneath that.
Yeah.
That's why I put it up higher.
We had sustainability of community lab, and when we thought about that, we incorporated lifestyle. and-
Sustainability of a variety of things.
Yeah,
Okay.
creativity. Where's Dave? Arts. we thought about- I'm sorry, I didn't know that was a rule. Okay, and then transparency and excellence and service and provision.
We need to move the painting.
No,
All people don't want to touch a painting, they'll just fall off the wall.
My turn.
Yep, group 3.
Back up. Group 3. Oh, I've had everything I've fall off the wall.
Policy making.
I didn't do that.
Can I put that under equity?
Yep.
As it relates?
Yes.
Okay. I don't just like it, I just, go ahead.
Create a community. Mutual trustworthiness to and with the community.
Transparency.
Is that collaborative?
Yeah. I think that would collaborate.
Under here? Because you have mutual trust?
Mm.
All right.
Culture of diversity and inclusiveness. Organizational adaptability.
Ooh, that's good.
You think that maybe goes with
That's all.
excellence in
Yeah.
services?
It's like good stewardships of.
Yes, it is. It does.
You think it goes with that?
resources.
Yes.
Above it.
You two are at odds.
So you value effective community leadership. Can that go with democracy?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, if I might suggest, doesn't data and informed decision making sort of go over there with excellence and transparency and service provisions? And the
Yeah.
organizational adaptability,
Transparent about the data you look at?
yeah, and then we use
Yes.
become adaptable.
Yes.
I think it goes under good stewardship of resources.
Well, that too, it could.
Oh, did I put it in the
Yeah.
wrong place?
Oh.
No, it's.
No.
Debate.
This is exactly what's supposed to happen, right?
But excellent service provision should be good stewardship of resources, right? They're,
Do those go together, the organizational adaptability and good stewardship of resources?
Well, I think
Does this column go with this column? Is that what you're asking? That could very well.
so, but
If we do that,
This
then we
gets to-
have 6.
that gets to the sort of the discussion of what we meant by good stewardship of resources, because when we were talking about resources, we're talking about money, we're talking about land, and we're talking about people.
Right.
People, both staff as well as community members.
Yes, well, let me give you a flavor of what usually happens next after this. We end up with a certain number of values, and then someone, and it could be, Laura takes one, Pam takes one, etc., will write a definition to further explain that values. How does that represent itself in Webster Groves? And typically, your core values don't shift too much, but your definition might shift.
Yeah.
And so, for example, under sustainability, they have these bullet points of lifestyle, land use, community. And so we value sustainability. And in Webster right now, it's reflected by how we use our land, how we maintain a certain lifestyle, and how we create a sense of community. We want to sustain that sense of community. Is that, you see what I'm saying? If we value equity or equity and inclusion, then We do that by creating a culture of diversity and inclusiveness, by having equity in policymaking. You see what I'm saying? And there might be a few other things. Or not. I mean, the definition can be fairly short. But you want your values to be short enough that people will know Webster Groves believes in democracy or effective community leadership. They believe in, we value creativity. We value equity and inclusion. We value good stewardship or whatever we end up here. It might merge with a different one.
It should merge with sustainability, maybe.
Could be.
I think
Well,
We talked about that and,
for good stewardship, but
I
here's
mean,
my point of view.
So some of
Yeah,
our stuff
so
got combined. where we-
It seems like sustainability and transparency, we've talked about putting in other places, but those seem like they need to stand out and be defined. At the top of it, they are the heading to me. And I don't want them to get lost in a pool of other things.
Could that go here? Simply because if you have an organization that's adaptable, you've got to invest in your staff.
But if you are a good steward of your resources, and I mean.
Right, you
that
invest in your
would
people.
You're investing.
Could go either place.
Kim, I think I get what you're saying, especially about sustainability, like the words that we actually end up deciding, regardless of how we define it, the words are the things that are really gonna stick out for a lot of citizens. And so it has a value to the word that we actually choose or the concept.
Not to get lost in a sentence
Yeah.
of stuff.
I think that's why I'm having trouble with the transparency one, because there's a lot on that. Like, there's more to that than transparency, right?
How
So-
about? Yeah.
So maybe the thing we value is transparency, but we see that like enacted in excellence and service. I don't know, like, I think, to me, I feel like I need a focus,
You could value excellence.
right?
what
And
if
have a
we,
value of excellence, and then that's defined in several different arenas.
I'm not sure they'll go together, like the transparency.
so what if we
Yeah, I don't
do
know that they go together.
transparency, take transparency off that one? Transparency really goes with mutual trustworthiness and collaboration, right?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Sure.
So
Right.
take excellence off or take transparency
We
off,
And I apologize.
We're gonna take
apologize.
transparency.
and put a separate card. Got a marker?
Here we go. But transparent.
What do you want? What separate card do you create?
For transparency,
Right, transparent.
I don't care.
and then scratch.
No, I think, yes, get rid of transparency on that card, yeah.
Just make it in here.
And this is seen as a separate one then?
No, I would put it with mutual trustworthiness collaborative.
You're
Below
gonna need it
mutual
right here.
trustworthiness.
Oh, there we go.
At least that was my idea.
And the excellence goes right back up. And it might be excellence in service. And you do
Yeah,
that by
Yeah,
data-driven decision-making and adapting to what the needs of the community are.
can things be in two categories? Can we put, can data driven decision making be in the good stewardship column as well?
Yeah, as long as you decide to do that, sure.
Good stewardship's a incredibly wide ranging term, right? Because everything's an opportunity cost from the stewardship of something, right? I mean, every one of those things. How do you steward equity? Right? I mean, you can do that. I mean, it's such an being a good steward is so umbrella esque.
And
So
and it
we
should
were-
be, but yeah.
And the idea was, we kind of knew, we know what the next step is to make a definition. So we thought in the definitions, we put equity, humans, land, etc. Finance, we thought we knew it was gonna be narrowed down with that broad term.
Which term?
Good stewardship of resources. Resources
again,
are a lot
your
of things.
sustainability point, if you bury equity underneath that, that doesn't strike out as a value then, right? I mean.
Right.
it's-
Yeah,
But I think we're keeping equity on.
No, I know what I'm saying. I'm saying stewardship is such an umbrella that everything you value can be counted as steward.
I
You're
still
stewarding.
argue that goes with sustainability to me, like stewardship of resources, because it just
Well, we
feels
meant
like,
financial resources as well, and
Right.
sustainability.
but that's still about sustainability.
I think Pam's convinced me the importance of sustainability on its own. This is just my argument, like at this point, we were having the conversation in our group about when the state and federal government fail to act. And we have the resources to act, even though it's not the role of local government, do we have an obligation to act?
Mm.
and I don't know the answer to that. I think it's a philosophical question, but I definitely think when we look long-term as to what Webster Groves is gonna be. Sustainability and environmental impact is obviously gonna be one, costly, but two, at the forefront of most decisions we make, including the vehicles we buy, the land we purchase.
But sustainability also means like the ability of our communities to survive, which is a financial question, like. in
I
addition
agree with
to
you
being-
that sustainability has multiple definitions.
It encompasses a variety of things.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just like, as a standalone, I don't know that I agree, because I think it is too tied to some of the other stuff.
I think it's only standing alone because we haven't extrapolated it out.
I think it's tied to some of the other stuff that's.
Well, let me ask you this, could we? Sustainability. And resources, does that go together? Being good stewards of resources. Sustainability at the top, and then in the definition, the sustainability of lifestyle, land use, resources, including financial.
Yeah, and I just, I don't want the given where we are, I don't want the, commitment to being. Good stewards, whatever the other word might be, of our financial resources to get buried deeply here.
And
Because I
the
do
thing
think it is, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't have anything more. to-
Well, just what sticks out to me is the thing that's always top of mind when you talk about Webster or the amount of taxes that we pay. And I don't think that you can think about that without acknowledging the good stewardship that's necessary to manage those resources. And I mean, I think that's number one. I mean,
And honestly, you can blame the school district for most of those high taxes.
Oh, we do, whenever we can.
That's important when we talk about high taxes. It's not the city taxes. It is the school district.
You actually should put out, I think, a comparability of your tax rate, just your tax rate to other.
Oh, we.
Like
We're done.
Okay, cool.
I get lost.
Sustainability is a both and, we should, and I'm accepting it as a both and. But I don't wanna combine it.
You don't want to combine sustainability?
Feel like you feel strongly about her.
8 is not a bad number of core values. I mean, I think the district had 7. Dave, do you remember if we had 7 or 8? 8, okay. With learning in the center, yeah.
Sustainability and the good steward of resources.
That's what I was saying, but they disagree.
I agree that's where sustainability should belong.
What if we worked on the definitions and then it may be that we want to combine them after the definitions are.
But are you kind of picking the focus here? I guess that's like, to get to the definitions, you're trying to pick the thing that is the center of that
Right.
group, right? So like,
Let's see if we have agreement on any of them.
Why don't we just put environmental sustainability? Would that solve it? Because then that would not go under good stewardship
it's
of
not-
resources.
but then it's not the same thing, like that's a different.
I think what the group anticipated.
And I think that definition, first you say environmental, they can be thinking outside about the trees. They're not gonna be thinking internal next.
Let me ask if we can come to agreement on this one. Is this category really we value excellence in service?
I think it goes under effective community leadership, both of those do.
So I'm not, David, I'm not trying to disagree with you, staff.
No, I disagree with you.
Investing in staff and data informed decision making, I would put with excellence and service provisions, because that. How we would operate, right?
Yeah.
Why are we doing it if it makes no sense? When we talked about effective community leadership, just to give you some sense of what we talked about was your role as council members, not just to listen. Because the community ultimately needs people to lead the community,
Yeah.
right? Like to be the horse is pulling the wagon, a community, we're going this way and achieving buy-in on things.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because we had a similar conversation in our group about the idea of using us as elected leaders more for advocacy. Because I think so often we look at what hasn't been done or what can't be done or what we have failed to do in Webster Groves, rather than Webster Groves is a pretty decent place kind of thing, and advocating both at the state and federal level of like, look at what a community can do, what it has done.
What I think also there's a lot of advocacy just in the community, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we enhance your role of, this is the why we're doing it, and come with us, right?
Yeah.
There is value in this. This is
Yeah.
not just a crackpot idea or, some group's mission.
What if excellence in service? That column goes with the good stewardship, and then that one's got the slightly more bent towards finances and people.
What excellence. in
If you have
service.
excellence in services, that means you're a good steward of resources, you invest in your staff, and you use data to make decisions. That's what she's saying, right?
I'm okay with that.
Who wrote good stewardship of resources? Number 2. Are you guys okay with that? Group 2, okay with that?
Is that what you think?
So then, but as organizational adaptability, then is gonna go somewhere else.
No, it would
No,
stay in
it's
that.
there. It's there
Because if
too.
you're gonna provide effective excellence in service, you should be adapt to the needs of the community. I would think.
Is that explicit enough for you?
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up about nimbleness, right? Like,
Right.
the idea that the future, we honestly, like this 3-year plan, a year and a half in to be, we're totally on pivot, and
Right.
so.
So these words right here is one value, excellence in service. And I think your citizens value excellence in service, just as citizen living in Webster, where I live, Webster Valley. And we value sustainability. I do think that reflects our community too. I mean, I hear a lot about it, and I'm very happy that we kept our recycle bins. And didn't give up on that like some other communities did. We wouldn't probably have kept them if we didn't value sustainability. And do we value creativity?
One of our groups did.
I don't understand.
Two of our groups did, I'm sorry.
I guess
Well, that's 2/3.
creativity,
Oh, it's not.
you're looking at is broad, I would imagine.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we're trying to get beyond just arts, right? So it's
Okay.
like, we talked about entrepreneurship,
Problem
I'll
solving.
put that in our phrase.
Yeah,
Creative problem solving,
But we would put that in our
creative
definition.
thinking, etc.
I can get on board with that.
Okay. Can we get on board with? Do we value equity and diversity? Do we value equity and inclusion? Do we just value equity? And then that goes in definition. That means our community will be inclusive in nature, will value diversity. We'll have equity in policy making.
So for us, it's a
Promote
little
a
bit
culture.
important to separate them into different things, because so we're the ones that put equity and policy making and also had culture of diversity and inclusiveness, because they're not, because they get combined a lot, right? And it's like a buzzword kind of thing where people think, oh yeah, I know what that is, whatever. But like, if you're really trying to think about, like, how do we get to equity? It was really important to us to call out the policy making, because that's a harder thing for us to keep focus on. And
And
then
then
the
your
culture,
definition, would you be okay with that or not?
but then the culture is not necessarily the same, right? So culture of diversity and inclusive is not exactly the same as saying, like, we value it.
But if you have a culture of inclusion and equity, you should be valuing that in policymaking.
Right.
It, to me, that comes from that, and that was probably.
No, I didn't, it's a chicken or egg argument.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I think that if we use the word equity, I think we should refer to, in the definition, refer to our equity statement, equity and inclusion statement somehow. Saying like, we're trying to, this is a value, and we've already have what we want to accomplish. And go refer here for what we intend to do.
Okay.
I don't know, that's just my thought, because we've already done, Pam and Laura have done that long, hard work in creating that equity and inclusion statement, but.
And it's fairly new, so I wouldn't throw that. out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think it ought to be like on the front page or wherever you list these things on your website, you're gonna wanna have your mission, your vision, your equity definition, your values. You're gonna want those all barely one after the other and you pick the order, but a lot of people put their mission first. That's what we're about. That's our main purpose of existing together. Okay. So where did we land up here? Do we value inclusion and diversity? Do we value equity?
I like the culture of.
Diversity and
Diversity and
inclusion?
inclusion as the heading, and then the definition can subsume.
Yeah, I also think it's more descriptive too. than
Yeah,
most
and I
like
like the
the
word
comic
culture
books.
too. That's a little more.
Well, it's a little more. This is the way Well, it's culture. I mean, this,
Yeah.
we're saying that this is, throughout the way we operate.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
In here, this is, yeah.
So we're landing on this. Okay. How about over here? What word do we want to land on? Effective community leadership, democracy.
I would say leadership,
We value leadership.
leadership from citizens, leadership from our staff, from elected officials.
We have collaborative. We value being collaborative, I would say. Or we value collaboration, we value mutual trustworthiness too. And with the community, we value transparency.
Seems like transparency would be the headline there.
Or maybe mutual trust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mutual trustworthiness to me, because mutual trustworthy demonstrated by transparency and collaborative.
Well, it puts a little bit more the onus on the community than just on us, where transparency feels like that's a leader thing, right? Like, and because I don't disagree, I was trying to think this out, I just like, but I kind of, part of, I think why we wanted that, it was like, we want to expect more from our community in terms of trustworthiness, in terms of like the back and forth of. So like, so the transparency has to kind of come after it, like, because
That's a way to achieve.
Yeah.
Mutual
Right, that's
trustworthiness.
the mutual trustworthiness
Yeah.
through transparency.
Yes,
and
let's say we
collaboration.
have mutual trustworthiness with our police department. That means the police trust the citizens and the citizens trust,
And we're being.
and they're transparent about what the data looks like, what expectations are, and how we're gonna function, or whatever. Or what resources go where.
And collaborative kind of came out from like compassion, empathy, more of like working together with our citizens, working as a community. So I think that works under mutual trust.
Yeah, and I've heard Chief Curtis say several times. Because I've asked him, what's your philosophy on policing? He goes, I take my philosophy from what the citizens tell me.
You're
So
right.
you collaborate with the citizens to find out what the city needs to do or what the police department needs to do, and then they do it. So that collaboration goes with citizens as well as with employees.
My only concern is that when you use the word mutual trust or mutual trustworthiness, it seems like a plea to the citizens. It's like, trust us. And I think we have to prove our trust.
You have to earn it.
You have to earn it. So I just am worried a little bit. It's kind of like, it seems a little bit,
We're not saying we are, we're saying we value.
Because David, I would respond back to you as one who sat in the room and been getting screwed by some of our constituents.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to trust you. And
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to treat you like a king just because you're a citizen. You know, when you're gonna turn around and knife me in the back.
Yeah.
Walking out of this meeting.
then that's why I think, this is just my argument right now. I would rather see collaboration as the principle rather than mutual trust. I think mutual trust is part of collaboration. It's the only way you can move forward with collaboration, but
Well, just what you just said, but how do you collaboration? It's about mutual trust to and with the community.
yes, I agree that in order to collaborate, you need mutual trust. But I don't think you need. Yeah,
You would leave the order.
I would leave the order like that: collaboration, mutual trust, transparency.
And I don't think collaboration is the end. Like,
But it's,
focus.
isn't it collaborative processes we're talking about here? That build mutual trustworthiness, and any collaborative process requires transparency.
Yeah,
Seems like you don't get any of the others unless you're transparent.
we got a lot of that. This is a good one.
Very good.
I think all three of those go under leadership. Good leadership is going to be collaborative, it's going to be about trustworthiness. There's going to be transparency and good leadership.
I like that.
Yeah,
That works. Yeah. Then we get down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
look at that, boom. All right, we can go.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Is that a motion to adjourn?
To the bathroom.
Yeah, we missed it. Little point shortly that's good for you,
I'll
Sarah.
have a break, yeah.
Yeah.
Right after this, yeah.
I can take a photo of all that.
I think she moved it a lot.
No,
You're like,
Katie's good plan.
Could you go back, or could someone go back to creativity for me? I'm not sure I'm grasping that.
We value creativity, I would think, as it's reflected in. And we value creativity of individuals, we value creativity of thoughts, we value.
So
Arts.
it's like we talked about
Decision-making,
entrepreneurship and we
problem
talked about,
solving,
yeah.
in addition to the, like the artistic endeavors and literary and everything else in this, because it does seem to be a value in the community. And it is something that I kind of argue for this one, and Marissa doesn't like it. Because it's like, I think it's unique to Webster in some ways that we have such a creative community, right? And so to me, that is a value that like we foster that. And to me, like, I would like to see the definition. written out a
Encouraging
little.
creativity or something.
But
So that is helpful for me. It's not intuitive to me to read creativity and know that we're talking about the arts or the entrepreneurship of the community.
so that means when we blow out the definition, then we'll want to have that in there.
Thank you.
I prefer the word personally, creativity over the arts, because I think
Yes.
sometimes that
Sure.
keeps us from
Yeah.
thinking creative thought, creative problem solving, not always doing things the way we've done them.
Right.
Because
Yes.
we're gonna use our creative brains to come up with new and better
Yeah.
solutions. Not that what we were doing was bad,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean we can't get creative and do it even better.
Finding solutions.
Creative problem solving, yeah. So here, let's put, just so we don't forget, we got art on there, problem solving, right? Etc.
So many of those buzzwords are already loaded, right? Like,
I mean,
you say art and people go to
Yeah.
opera or
Right.
painting or sculpture, and that's the world, right? You know,
Right.
and it's, creativity
They
lets you
stop
be
there. Yeah.
more expansive.
Right, I agree.
Doesn't creativity though then fall under leadership?
No, because it's not just part of leadership, right? Like the like the leadership piece of it is to help to encourage it, right? But I don't think that that's the end goal is the creation of things itself.
And we even talked about from an academic perspective, you usually have two schools of thought in university, which
Mhm.
is fine arts and science.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we're talking about the fine arts side of it, which could be in not only the arts, but also creative solutions to.
Could we add, I agree with you and springing off that, could we add design thinking to the,
I was thinking the same thing, actually.
yeah,
Can we, if we're gonna, yeah, I was gonna say, the one thing that I think is missing from here is the human element. I think leadership incorporates it a little bit, but like the human element. What Sarah mentioned, compassion, I think like empathy in the way that government operates.
I mean, do you even want to just say we value people?
Yeah,
Or,
humans,
because you want to, human beings, but whatever, yeah.
maybe people in creativity,
Oh, you're talking about in the
or
creative.
creativity in
No,
people.
I meant a separate category, just as a,
Did that
it
any
kind
of
of
you-
supports your equity statement, to be honest, but
did any of you consider just the word creative?
we value creative, that
Creative in everything we do.
So that school of thought about the sciences can be creative. It's creative to make a novel idea in the sciences.
design thinking kind of covers the science and the creativity part. That's what, that is blending those two.
I like the idea of people, because we're missing a human element here, I feel like. I mean, our job is to provide those services, like Laura was explaining, for people, it's
And
like.
I think that comes out, I feel like in ours, and the word community is on like multiple cards for us, because I think that's kind of what we're thinking about a little bit
Well,
too.
And maybe the vision statement incorporates the people or the mission statement.
and
but-
maybe the word you want to use is you value sense of community, or you value
Yeah.
community.
Yeah,
Maybe that's.
I mean, I know the school district has that as one of their core values, they value community.
Well,
Fundamentally, that's what we're doing all these
And
things.
Yeah.
Right, I mean,
and maybe that's why the mission. and vision
And
is-
it's also kind of supportive of being collaborative.
Yeah.
When you value community, you value being collaborative with your community. You value the differences they bring.
I think that there is something, and maybe this is in the definitions, if it's anywhere, but there is something that's different between valuing human beings and valuing community. Like, we want to
Yeah.
value the individual people as
Yeah,
well,
right.
and have compassion
Yeah.
when we're working with individual people,
Mhm.
as well as doing what's best for like the overall.
Yes.
And actually, the district kind of
Individuals
paired them apart. We value community and we value individualism. Because of that, we don't want everybody to feel like they have to be the same. Now, when you have a culture of valuing of diversity and inclusiveness, we're gonna value the differences of people.
Wouldn't each of these inevitably have a human aspect in the definition?
I would hope.
It's about what stands out.
We only have
though.
5.
It requires the reader to go to the definition. And what's gonna stand out, and that's why I think sustainability is so important.
Yeah.
So we should.
No, I
change-
agree with
I
you.
don't hate the idea of having people as its own.
Yeah.
Because of the definition of people, you can emphasize both the community aspect and the individual.
Yeah.
Just talking, yeah.
And people coming to visit us.
Yeah.
Right.
That aren't necessarily part of it.
We heard that when you're talking to.
Yeah. You mean to see? Yeah.
People start that fundraising.
Yeah, exactly. Be a little bit like Steve Bannon made some money off of
Walking on over.
So are we gonna make it, oh, good, okay.
Okay,
Thanks for the initiative.
Aye, that's right. You showed some leadership there. Every piece of change, just put it right.
So she's the mayor's right hand.
there.
And I'm the left hand.
Emily is.
Oh, my God.
No, that's the wrong one.
All right. And you can stop here because the next meeting you get a chance to just go back and add some thought about it. You're
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about it. Ask her if she had a different word other than people or humanistic. Humanity.
She meant to say marine peoples.
That's right.
Glad you went there.
So people and culture to me would be a category, with diversity and inclusiveness being within that. So
That's fair.
Yeah.
it's also when we get to culture, for me, that's more where the arts, the parks are public spaces and connectivity, because we value all people, we have places for all people.
So you're saying you would say we value people and culture?
I would say that would be my title, people and culture, or culture, however you want to put it.
Yeah, whatever.
They go together to me.
You're saying culture in terms of diversity, not
I'm
art.
saying in terms, I'm saying
Culture.
that is culture, that's
Culture is reflective of people.
it's reflective of people, it's reflective of the things that we support people doing.
What they do, like coming together for Porch Fest or coming together for Arts Festival or coming together for.
So you're trying to get rid
Jazz
of
fest.
creativity.
Well, I wasn't trying.
I know you're doing it.
You don't resonate for me.
Still go along.
Okay. The next, like, 2 minutes.
Thank you for keeping us on path.
So right now, we value leadership, we value creativity, we value culture, diversity, and inclusiveness. We value sustainability, we value people, we value excellence and service.
I like it.
I like
do.
it, and we could talk forever because they all lead into each other and inform each other, and we want, them to.
Aaron, how do you?
The
feel?
next council. function.
That's it.
Okay,
Oh.
fist to 5. 5's like, whoa, we're great, I'm good, stopping right here. Fist is, we gotta keep talking because I hate this. 3 is, I'm good. Okay. Fist to
As
5.
it is right there.
As it is right now.
No, 4's not enough.
Okay, oh, well, then I gotta change mine. You're good, all right,
0
all
to
right.
5.
So let's
I
take,
thought it would, then she only.
let's take a
Yeah,
7-minute
never mind.
break, is that okay?
Some of us really need that 7.
Don't take us back by 11:20.
I didn't want to go too low. 'cause it's
Sorry.
just-
Bud's gonna take over. I need a volunteer to write a statement that explains each value.
I think we each take one.
So there's only 5,
There's 6.
there's 6, so somebody gets a break. So who would, if you're passionate about one, tell me that card and I'll hand it to you.
I'll take leadership.
Damn.
Oh, did you want
No,
that?
it's okay.
You sure? You're the mayor, you get first vote.
Kitty.
Did you get pictures of that, Katie?
Well,
Yeah, hold on a second. Will you leave those up for a second?
well, this is what I'm gonna suggest we do. I'll take them home and type them up. And I'll create category leadership, and I'll email it to all of you. David will know he's gonna take leadership.
Score.
Who's gonna take creativity? Me. So you know that, right? So Katie, if you would write down. Sarah,
Aaron and Emerson are gonna work together on creativity.
don't forget to bring Maria. Who's doing culture, diversity and inclusion? Culture and diversity and inclusion. Who's doing that one?
I'll do that one.
Laura's doing that one. And then who's doing sustainability?
And
So,
Pam has sustainability, who has people. Emily's got people. And then excellence in service, goes to who?
that's not good stewardship.
I'm not
in it,
making eye
Aaron.
contact. You see me not making eye contact? Okay.
We'll collaborate.
Sorry, I
All right.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna type it up so it'll be easy for you to work. All right. Yeah. I know all that things. Okay.
I know.
So that's good.
I like it.
Okay,
Yeah.
What? Back to the vision statement.
Waterfall, ready to go.
I don't think we can get it done in an hour. Probably, they're probably gonna take us maybe a whole session. Judging by the results of what we've gone through so far, the votes. Simple things that should have taken 10 minutes, you think. Could be a lot longer.
you need to actually warn us if it's only supposed to take.
Oh, I can't warn you there.
We're doing great.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But vision statement is really important in any organization of any size at all. Got more than 2 people in it, you need a vision statement. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do we want Webster goes to be somewhere down the road beyond what it is right now? Some things that we aren't doing right now. Or some things that we want to do, but really haven't put anything into action yet. So that's what a vision statement is. What do we want to do? Create that vision. And that vision is going to affect a lot of people. It's going to affect everybody that works for the city. So we want to make sure that it's something that's credible, realistic, and inspires us, inspires citizens, inspires the staff here to accomplish that vision. Now, that vision could be 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, as long as it's realistic, okay? That it can be something to be accomplished. So what would that vision be? That's what we look. If you looked at some of the other vision statements in some of the other cities, you saw some pretty succinct, maybe a sentence, maybe a short paragraph. But it defines what we really want to get to improve the city over and above what it is right now. How do we get there? So, what do we want to do? How do we get there is where the other work comes in. Once we establish the vision and agree upon the vision, then what are the steps we need to take to do that? So we create a roadmap. And that's all a strategic plan is, step by step by step. Vision, goal number 1, goal or objective, same thing. So once we have that goal, that will help achieve that vision. That's one. And the vision doesn't just focus on one thing. It's a broad category. We want Webster Groves to have something we don't do right. Greatest walkability in the whole St. Louis area. Which might envision actually connecting our 3 main business districts together somehow, which does not happen yet. And there's some reasons for why it can't happen yet. But can that be changed? So just just give me some ideas. What would you like to see the city be?
Do we want to,
Beyond what it is now.
do we want to do that? What we, the process we laid out?
Just some thoughts in general,
All right.
and then I want you to get the groups. The same groups of three.
We're speaking of division.
Something we don't really do right now, but we'd like to do. We admire other cities that are doing it. Or something. Talk about the arts. We've got some pretty good arts here, but what can we go beyond?
I think living up to our aspirations is one of them, like when it comes to equity, diversity and inclusion, like we have these statements, but I don't know if that's necessarily evident in our community, like in the reality of our community right now.
So,
It's fair across all of our values almost, like that there's an
Yeah,
aspirational.
sustainability, yeah.
walking the talk.
Adaptability.
I also want to be
I think
careful this is also about doing some things we already do better. And not, because you know, one of the words that comes to me is welcoming. I think for some people, they feel very welcome here, but maybe not everybody else does. Not everybody does. And so, I mean, I just don't want us to have a vision statement that seems to say, here are all the things we're doing wrong, as opposed to building on what we're doing well. Yeah, that's.
And I think we have to do it wholeheartedly as opposed to, you know, with enthusiasm and wholeheartedly.
That's where the next steps come in. Okay, we know about those things. So if we put it in a vision statement, what are the steps we need to take to get there, to accomplish that?
Well, that's the second question on another day.
Yeah,
But when you create your vision is,
that's all.
when you like close your eyes and you think about our community that we serve. What do you want it to be in the future? And it doesn't have to be anything about that's terrible where we are, it's. We could be better at, and so I'm visualizing, these are the things that would be happening.
Well, what do we want to be noted for in the St. Louis community?
I mean, I think this goes part and parcel with diversity and inclusion, but I think that incorporating or somehow figuring out how to incorporate socioeconomic principles that are welcoming to all.
So welcoming could be part of a vision statement, and then your strategies are. We want to have diversity in prices of housing. We want to have methods to have a variety of business owners. I read something that I think Ann had written, or maybe you're just the note taker, about having Black-owned businesses or et cetera. So those would all be strategies to help you have a really welcoming environment, a really welcoming community.
And that's where the work.
And I'm not advocating for the word welcoming, that's been thrown out on the table a few times. I personally would too, but you know, this is not.
I was thinking of enhanced or improved, increased, like just connection among the community.
where
and
people
with-
are
in the
connected.
community with the city, because sometimes it feels like we're separate, right? But we're all part of the same community, and we don't want City Hall to be seen as like something separate that is out of reach for.
Well,
Think about it.
Like a on a pedestal.
Think about it
Yeah.
like this, okay? This group is gonna create the vision. But the people that are gonna have to implement that, when we create the steps that need to happen to achieve that vision, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, it's gonna take resources, with resources, people that work here. And the funding for those steps that we want to take. So that's when we get more people involved. And that could include people in the community, certainly all of these folks in here, but people that actually have to do the work, have to look at that vision and say, this is what the city council wants us to work with. How do we achieve that? And we need to achieve that. So that's a whole nother big process.
So let's focus right
okay,
now
so-
on, let's focus right now.
All
just
right,
on
so
vision.
so to me, part of the vision is that Webster Groves becomes a destination for shopping, for dining, for cultural events, for the metropolitan area.
Where all people are welcome or something. Yeah.
yes.
I think about the word welcome. Okay. And
Yeah, that's in addition to welcome.
right. So
I'm always, when it comes to vision, because I don't think, and this gets to equity and a lot of things back.
are we
into it.
throwing the process out? But I feel like that's got to be done.
What are we getting there?
I'm okay. I just need to know.
All all her process. She's kept me in line a couple of times.
I think that Eric was in the middle of saying something right here.
That's okay. So I'm struck with the word thrive, right? I mean, in reality, what we're talking about is people thriving,
Yes.
including the
Yep.
people that aren't here that we want to be here.
Yes.
And our businesses thrive, our
Yep.
community spaces thrive, right? I mean, thriving in life is that you have some authenticity, you have accomplishment, you have well-being, and that we are that place where people can thrive.
Yeah.
And that's a long vision, but it's also very short, right? I mean, because we can
Yes.
build plans around.
Yeah, I think of abundance as something that we want to be
Right.
abundantly welcome, abundantly attractive, et cetera.
I want to make
Sure,
sure
we
we
don't need
don't,
abundance to be here,
Correct.
right? I mean, that's,
You're gonna.
right.
Well, today you kind of do.
Right, that's
Say
what I
actually
meant.
do.
So-
But that's what we don't want to be, we don't want it to be that way, right? We want it to be.
Yeah, when I close my eyes and see what I want to see, I wanted to see where you don't have to have abundance to
Correct.
be here, but right now.
But we offer abundance.
I want to make sure our vision statement doesn't try to give the concept that we're trying to build a utopia though, within the boundaries of Webster.
I don't think we're trying to build a utopia. I think we're just trying to create a possibility.
It has to
Right
be
now,
realistic. It has to
yeah.
be realistic.
It's okay.
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I know I harp on this a lot, but. I mean, we are one municipality of only 23,000 people in a county that's 1 million people. 24,000. For 1 million people, and so like, where do we stand within the county? Where do we stand within this region? Because the less we think about regionally, the more it's gonna hurt our citizens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if we don't think of ourselves as part of the region and we fail to account for the regional dynamics, I think we do more of a disservice to our citizens than we do a
So
service.
is that plan, making a plan based on the county or based on?
No,
how we
not
do it?
necessarily based on, but I think accounting for.
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping the region in mind. Cause a lot of times we talk about like walkability and affordable housing and things like that, which are important to me too. But, if you have a family, like we have an immigrant family who, moved into a house, they have to have a car to get around. Like there's no way to live in the St. Louis region effectively and not have transportation, and we don't have a great transportation system. That's not something we can fix in Webster. But we have to keep those types of regional things in mind as kind of whether there's a constraints or environment or whatever, but as we think about Webster, we're not an island.
Yeah.
And we are part of a region.
But I think we also have to keep in mind that we have a part to play and that, we can't say, well, affordable housing will be somewhere else.
No,
Because I feel like that's also kind of the danger there if you're a community
Yes.
member reading, okay, but there's other places that can handle that. It's like, no, we have to do our part of the solution.
yeah,
And let me just throw one piece of information out, maybe stimulates the conversation in a different direction, but when that development foundation plan was created was 2005, 2006. And it used data from the 2000 census. And our African-American population then was 7%. The latest has it's down to 4%. So
But has African American population decreased in the county?
I don't have that.
Well, and I think that's part of the equation, right? I think that should be part of the dynamics of where
Is
we
it
stand in this
something- is it
region.
something you
So-
need to think about?
So you just, we're not on that island alone.
Exactly.
Yeah, so to me, it's part of this then is to acknowledge our connection to, that our success is connected to regional success,
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
what we do in Webster Grove.
Yeah.
Right, so we can do things really well in
Yes.
Webster Groves and we want to have that community. And it's not instead of that, it's in addition to that, we recognize a responsibility to the broader metropolitan area.
And in some cases, it's to provide a leadership.
Yeah, absolutely,
It's not-
absolutely.
Not to be left out either. It's not like,
So David, remember that when you write about leadership and collaboration.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes,
Not only leadership within
yes.
Right.
the Webster Grove city limits, it's within the larger.
Yes.
region
Absolutely.
Yes.
In which we live and survive.
Yes.
So we gotta be.
So that's probably where that goes, is in a value statement. Probably not in a vision statement, but it does go in a value statement. If we value keeping that in mind, then that should be
Yes.
under that leadership.
Yes.
You got, I'm charging him with remembering.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you.
That's the
Thank
thing
you,
too.
Sarah.
The
You bet.
values that we create should also tell us what our mission should.
Yes.
We're going to-
Or we go back to
Is this
two,
what we're getting
or all the
ready to
twos
do?
getting back together?
Can we?
Yeah.
I think we have time to do this process, but it's gonna have to be. You've got a lot of good words started,
Okay.
and so I think you probably already had the conversation piece, maybe a little bit. And then what I want your teams to do is just draw your vision. Don't give me a list of words. Draw it, and then somebody's gonna explain it.
Good.
Boy.
And you have like 15 minutes to do that, and I promise you can do it in 15 minutes.
Yes, like a picture draw.
A picture draw.
I'm not doing that. So you all, or one of you has to.
And we will not be seeing the pictures in the minutes.
So this is creative down there.
To foster creativity, it only actually.
Who's Laura? And take these down here, group, and I'll bring the paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am not doing that. That was very off-putting.
I apologize.
It doesn't have to be beautiful.
What do you mean?
It does have to be representative of what you're
Well,
thinking.
Brain is data. This is a challenge. Yes.
You just put your paper here when you're ready for
Oh,
it.
thank you. Sort of what is it?
Draw a picture.
Of our vision.
First five, what is it you want to represent?
Oh, yeah, what do we do? So.
First
so
five,
vision
what is it you want to
3, 5
represent?
years?
What do you want to represent?
Creativity.
I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I see is that we have been
Right on it.
a constant,
We've done the
reliable
vision.
Yeah.
municipality in those regions. We haven't had major ethical issues. We haven't had major
What is it you want them to be?
controversies that have created
What do you want them to be?
a distrust in our municipality in general that has. So I think that's extremely important to keep in mind.
What else do you want it to be?
Let's try to maintain really good government despite the issues that we have. I don't know, so that-
I agree with you.
I guess what.
I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna. I want you to our community, but
Yeah.
I want coaching, I want building us.
It's an important concept, probably always gonna be a best community.
Diversity in housing.
I mean, it's
Is what you're
that,
saying?
in my mind, I think we're always gonna be.
Union style every day.
Yeah. But I don't think people move to Webster Grove because they want to target us.
I love that.
Yeah.
They move to Webster Grove because they want to live here.
You got trapped
It's
in
here, put themselves live here, have the shops and restaurants that we do have, with probably a few more, but. This, I think, where I landed on the defense. I don't think that's what Webster Grove citizens wanted. I don't think they wanted something. Yes, maybe there, as long, and, but it's still being progressive and then trying to, I mean,
I'm saying.
I actually like it. I honestly do. I think, because it shows that we're trying to reach a middle ground and compromise. Because they are competing. So if you're trying to do both, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to come to the middle ground. Trying to get to the best result for all people.
Like I know.
Yeah, well, I think that's another way of saying it, that's for sure.
And trails
But-
and
Yeah,
paths.
Yeah, at least that's how I. think
what
about
I would like to see.
Well, those folks be our community members, they probably will in 35 years, they're further down the road.
it. Yeah.
Because right now, that's like.
It's gonna be, right, and I don't. Pause things.
No, yeah.
I don't think it is a priority.
For me, that's where the regionalization comes into
Yeah.
play, because the fact that these people are leaving.
Incorporating that.
The whole area, like, they was not- Yeah, no, it's just- so I mean,
Yeah.
Not necessarily, I mean, we do in some work, but we don't necessarily need to compete with the other
Thanks.
municipalities. We can work together, you know, like,
Before $300,000 home,
whatever.
even
There's
Kansas,
room for all.
Southwestern federal.
This goes to like,
We also want.
building 700 apartments.
Like
What
I,
you're gonna do, we're gonna pull like other
Don't migrate,
people
yeah.
that already are in apartments in the St. Louis area. I don't think there's.
if my vision duplex are there.
I mean, I don't disagree that we need more housing, because
I would add tax, I think
that's a different question.
I don't know how the community would react, but I have no problem with tiny home setup, so.
We could talk about that.
You guys have some key concepts you know.
Safe and welcoming.
You might agree on.
I
Safe, I don't love that word, but there's gotta be.
Is that right brain or left brain? Oh, this is just.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you were sure.
In the true sense, not just in the sense that we're police, like.
I guess, let me, I mean, do either of you want to see a major fundamental shift in whether it's 35, 10, 15
Yeah.
years,
Security.
or
You know. It's like.
Do you think-
type setup.
Yeah.
and if, what is that major fundamental?
Imaginary boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what would you
Yeah,
like to see?
between the different types of
Yeah,
families.
no.
Not sure. You have to
Yeah.
figure it out.
All that needs to
Not
disappear.
Even just in terms of the people, but when I'll take technology.
Yeah.
When it- As a municipality,
Yeah,
where we are.
The person-
technology,
some of your stuff
it's
with the
really
person
cutting
who
edge
went
staff,
from
and it's been
looking
hard
for a
to
sign
find
that
all these
says,
things that you already know.
Northwest.
But it was a separate system.
Yeah.
Because everybody talked
Could
about.
there
it,
be
but
like
I
say
say
that
that,
I'm like, well, I'm not understanding.
Yeah, where is North?
Where is Northwest?
Are we
United
going to
Driven
be
stuff, starts
customer
to every.
people answering the front
Every
desk
school, I never
in
saw
5
some.
years? I don't know that we
Oh,
will. So,
Like it's invisible.
but I think, I do think we need a major. fund
Be one
shift
community.
in people
It's
to
one
spend their services.
community.
One
And we
community
deliver
where
their
they're
services, are we gonna be able to match?
yeah, that's a good point. So like, and it still goes to the idea of like leading and being a premier
Whatever.
municipality, right? Because I always think has the means and the capability and the ingenuity to be a leader within this
But I
region.
think trees
To
illustrate.
show that
Our people
local
thriving,
government still
growing
has a role,
together.
local government still plays an important role in making
I
people's
think
lives
that's why-
simpler, better.
Mhm.
You know, we have
Health and
Uh,
there's like health and well-being in there
Right,
as
so
well.
if you're
like,
thriving, you're
Yeah.
well, you
But
have opportunity.
from a-
for
So that's an
exercise,
organizational change that I think that
Connecting with
makes sense,
people.
but
I love
it also requires
Like,
trust
I'm too
in the
now.
willingness to participate along with that. It's something that.
I personally love the word
used to for a long
thrive,
time, but
actually,
it's all
school district over Kansas City.
You know.
Side of their mission.
Well, it is
To
to us,
create an
yes.
organization in which all its members
The
thrive.
Mustangs.
I love
Kids,
that.
adults, employees, everyone.
It's definitely like the goal of success.
Well,
right?
it's also-
People have every single of our.
Part-
Well, it's unstable. I mean, to
You know,
me,
how to do
when I
Webster,
saw it, it
social
was
mission,
mission,
how to
just
thrive.
encouragers,
Find
that's,
that's
yeah.
success.
Anyway, but when I think.
What's his name? Dan.
But-
I think our just.
That's
the whole word.
I heard you got it in there.
That would be. So nobody knows.
Yeah.
Obviously, the diversity of architecture, building and the built environment, solar and sustainability, complete streets, trails, paths, walkability,
Yeah.
and diverse population, including renters, and the lack of boundaries.
Educations we have don't see those connections
Yeah.
and sustainability like with the e-vehicles.
Now, there are a few key
So when I
things.
think
That's
about
a good
those
point.
fundamental
Right.
shifts
I don't know that we have like,
of technology and how people.
I don't know,
expect
but
that you're getting ready to go on a huge flight.
destination in this,
Yeah.
like
You
we
can go
have.
through that whole process.
Like,
Well,
not-
you know, like,
You don't have to have a van.
we don't have a
Do it
hotel.
all in life.
We have to drop people here, we have.
One bed and breakfast, or two bed and breakfast.
Right.
Residents accept that.
These things, too.
So, like,
But you know, it's funny, I was looking at just the census data right before we got into this group, and but it kind of goes back to that constant
My
aspect of
mother's, they actually rent out, the empty,
the sameness, like the
facility.
people, the data was something along the lines of like people who lived in their house for the past 5 years, there was 98%. Sure, it was like, holy cow, that's a huge number.
I mean,
It's like
even,
No.
people come and they stay in Webster, which creates housing issues, which creates housing prices.
we made it a little restricted.
People that are used to one thing and not really
It's not.
change creates a lack of energy, yes. So.
Okay, it's about time to pick up a marker.
Yeah, they love.
Get it on 5 more minutes. You've got your
How do we balance that?
Your data use. So what are
Thanks
you
for those.
know?
Welcome.
You've got to decide, we want to see,
Yeah, no, that's.
what have you come down?
I'm watching.
Just tell me a concept.
So we're gonna make the boundaries.
What are some key concepts that? Words that illustrate the future you want?
Well, you think so?
It seems to me, it kind of goes back to the idea of what you said earlier, Marie, is like the data and information driven. Concept, like, we're gonna use stats, we're gonna use data to move Webster Road. and
All right.
the rest of the state requires.
Back to the
Yeah.
boundaries, I think we-
You take all you But if you don't know what you're getting,
So.
So-
so you gotta lead somewhere, that's kind of a.
A little bit off.
That's an answer.
Yeah.
Danbury.
Cutting edge, innovative city.
True.
So kind of innovative.
So here we.
Good enough.
If you must write a word,
So we have no boundaries, we can,
you know, you can put like a number
That's
one, big
Webster.
number one.
we want trees.
You can draw a race, you have to be, we have to go through the winner.
Old Webster, Old Orchard, South Roads. We got, we're gonna put some trees.
Look at that.
Better than what I would have.
What does that say?
That's in St. Louis County.
I guess I had a brown. I couldn't find brown. Is that enough trees to be spared? So.
Like
we want-
what Laura said about. It's not a destination.
Building
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
right?
If nothing else, for, we're not gonna grow our residential tax base a lot, so how do we?
So
support
an
our
active.
business?
Exactly.
Eating destination.
Trying to,
An arts
putting like taking those
destination.
tree and
They kind of go
lumping them in and
Yeah.
creating like a sense of.
But it also
connectivity.
with that.
Talking about the district, or do we not care about that? I'm just, I
Uh,
was trying to think of the one community
Yeah,
without the
no,
boundaries
it's not,
type
but-
between our.
Well, and then,
I would say, yeah.
I mean, this kind of goes back to like, what is the definition of affordable in any community? It's like, what our
There's a little new
definition,
height
Webster's gonna be a
that
lot
we're not
different
used
than
to.
Black Shack.
And there's some
So-
smaller height we are used to.
Yeah.
I like the idea, if I had a true vision of Webster, like what I see over the next, I don't know about 5 years, but over 10 years, is our boundaries have changed.
Which are probably the normal size.
And you know, they all.
Right, I would love to see us actually merge municipalities.
I don't want to,
and I think that we have to
Apply
do
it like the world, but I wonder if,
But see,
Or
that's
in your homes.
I think in my mind, I mean, we have way too many municipalities, but you combine the ones that are already pretty productive and effective. You're gonna create better.
Okay, what else we-
climate
what are we on next?
for Diversity.
How you do
Better
pink?
service.
how you gonna do people?
Red?
Well,
Orange?
Yeah, okay, so I see what you're saying, but
Well,
I'm
no,
also like, if
I don't know.
our
That
goals to
might
be
be-
like, to say,
Well, three different colors.
But don't put
and
it
then
in
do that by annexing.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Blue people.
The geography
people.
of current. That's so just as staff.
That's a good point, yeah.
It's like, it's the, that's population for Webster to make Clark and Brisbane look like they
Yeah.
had diversity of kids when they really didn't, they
Yeah.
were just busing them, so like, I'm just, I don't know that annexing really creates the change, but it creates the
But doesn't,
optics of change.
but if we really believe that we're such a good municipality and that we're governed better, isn't by annexing, bringing in more citizens, giving a better life to those citizens?
I mean, I don't know that I'm.
You tell
saying
me if
we're
I'm drawing
government-
too many or
I don't
too
know
little.
who do the best
No,
by people for our town, that doesn't mean we can be the best
Yeah,
ever, like
yeah,
Kirkwood.
What about
Best
the-
yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
You can make things pretty.
Well, yeah, so,
Yeah.
Mhm.
With like the, by, like.
sure.
I'm tired of building a kingdom.
Like, measure maybe.
I definitely don't want to see it.
Okay.
You're gonna really push the boundaries here. I'm gonna.
Yeah, you are.
You know, and if you can't decide how to draw it, just know what the key concepts are you want to
Makes
convey.
sense.
Yeah.
to the group.
I have a
Merge
part,
groups, I don't know what they're doing.
Cars.
Review draft.
That's terrible.
Okay, that's the third person out.
It's like-
But at least know what is the message you want to convey.
Those are the lofty people, we're gonna do the work.
Bus in there too.
We're talking about kind of like.
And then we do a trail as well, like.
Yeah.
just to-
So then do we go wide, broad, and then narrow, or narrow and then wide?
That's a good question.
Licensed.
Remember, you're just throwing the
Make
concept.
two bids.
Okay.
Don't get too.
We're pretty.
But we're fine.
No, that's fine.
I just say, just write your key phrase on there. Some funky price.
Right. So we've got, so solar and sustainability,
We'll say that this is,
so.
Road progress or something.
yeah, maybe
Well, like
this is Webster grows today.
Then you can get your house and do it the
Right.
solar. and-
Sure, we're gonna build a building.
Yeah, that's where it leads us to.
Yeah.
Anything else is wrong.
No, it's uncomfortable for all municipalities to talk about it.
Maybe like that. Maybe like a star or. Castle.
Lower channels.
Consolidation of good word.
It's not here. Efficiencies. Shared.
Share, there we go.
Okay, there, you want a window in there or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta
What do we
protect the
do?
bird.
To your point, standing boundaries doesn't change. So is there any place for?
I know.
Or in conjunction with.
You have-
Well,
you have
I
to
also
worry
think
about the
again,
bird.
we have to look at it from a region standpoint. Do we have a housing problem
To
in
the-
St.
They
Louis?
do in some
And the
places.
data will show that you do,
Farms, there's a lot of.
but
farms
the
around
question is, who's the housing problem with?
here. How does it thrive?
With certain.
Right, I don't know how to do it.
So the question is, can Webster fill that gap,
Right, does-
rather than
does
just creating
represent
affordable housing for the sake of creating affordable
the
housing?
lack of
It's actually
boundaries or
a
like-
problem that exists.
Sarah and I went to like the school in St. Pete
Yeah.
by Focus St. Louis a couple weeks ago. And that's what talking about frontiers. And that tier
All the way down through and around.
Yeah.
tier, right?
Yeah.
Out that way, it's for what we've done, that is really hard. It's specifically
You
called
got a
out, like
trail that
Webster
goes this way.
Yeah.
So she did a little-
Yeah.
But I also struggle with. You can't just, build a current building and not have that opportunities for employment and then, transportation, and things like that. So I'm not, I still want to do it. It's just like, I feel like it's a bigger,
I agree.
complicated.
It's on a little
Oops. Let's see.
different than
It's
this.
on everywhere.
Everyone's I know this probably-
Everyone's
not a
thriving.
topic, but
Tiny home.
we need. They have a density. Well, we got shape. I think everyone is. Way down.
That's We got what we wanted?
I love you.
Yep.
You know, who's describing it, who's
Well,
speaking.
I also think.
That's you this time, Emerson.
Person speaking. Who's speaking out of your Karen's?
Yeah.
Sam, me too, all right. Hey, seriously, time's up here.
Making up for it, yeah.
Time's up.
Yeah, exactly.
Time's up. Who's speaking in this group? Are you speaking, David? Looks like you-
Yeah, I am.
You hang
You're gonna
around
put
there.
it over-
You can put it on the glass.
It's fine, we're good. We're not gonna write on it anyway, so it's good, we're good. All right, you want to stand to listen, that's cool. Group one's going first. Group one, how about we let group three go first this time? Group three, what do you got?
Yeah.
Attention to group three.
Can everybody see that? Behind the stuff?
It is beautiful.
They'll get up and move.
I like it.
So, just as background, we talked about trees. And so the green represent the trees, and there's gonna be a picture all over Webster Grove. And the height of, buildings, talking about homes, duplexes, even tiny homes. That's in the brown,
And commercial height too.
and commercial height.
Yes.
And we want to see us, further solar energy, these are homes with the solar panels
And the sun.
and the sun. Thank you.
Important.
And the wind, don't forget the wind, we threw wind.
Oh, yeah.
The windmill right smack in the middle.
Cubs got some excellent girl.
Oh, you know, orange thing in the middle.
Right there. We want to have complete paths, walking, driving all the way through Webster.
Why?
You say why?
Yeah, this.
Connection of neighborhoods
And complete streets are there.
and complete streets, yes.
Which means cars, bikes and people.
And we want a diverse population, that's our little blue people.
But all of them are blue.
It's because we didn't want to use black or.
Orange or.
White markers.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Here, quick read this, I'll come back out. Sorry. Home renters, the diverse type of homeowners, renters throughout Webster. And we want to have a lack of boundaries, one community. No one like Webster, no Southwestern, and Westwestern, Webster, it's just one huge community. Hence, there's nothing in the middle.
And the thriving is the hearts.
Yeah.
Everybody's thriving.
No matter where they
No
are.
matter where they are.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's adorable.
I think.
So what you said.
That's it.
Okay. Group two.
Go, Pam, go.
We took our stat things that we kind of mentioned already and put them into a visual. So first of all, we are with the rules and destination. Because we are attractive, not because we're promoting ourselves, but we attract people here. And we are green and sustainable, and we are outlined in black, which I'm gonna do again, because we are financially in a good place. And the car is going this way, heading you to town. We are welcoming because we are generous, not because we want things from people, but we have a lot to give. And we are a thriving people, not merely surviving. And a huge aspiration would be declared a blue zone, which is a status that means we are super healthy community in all ways. Thus, those people are blue. And that's everything.
Like,
This guy is going this way.
when you say we are WG, does that illustrate pride? What do you?
That was, I was just trying to find some central saying.
Okay.
To draw in 30 seconds that meant everybody.
Okay.
How do this is the identifier of who we
Okay,
are.
got
I mean, we could be. We identify ourselves
Okay.
as something else later.
And I think I see the word up there, welcoming, but I didn't hear you say it. Do we want to say we're welcoming?
Yes, we do.
They welcome me because we are generous.
Okay.
Not because we want.
I think you and Dave should work on it.
And that is a gift. That's
Oh, that's a bow. Okay, thank you.
that's a gift. And we're just all.
Oh, I thought you were saying that.
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'm doing it.
Okay.
All right, group one. David?
Oh, no, David, you have to go to the front of the car.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding.
okay.
Oh, no, I think you.
Take some ownership, David, go slowly.
Okay, we're gonna let him.
Okay.
I don't want to take ownership.
Come on.
So we talked a lot about how we would like to be considered one of the best in St. Louis County in so many different ways, including technology and citizens agreeing to that, local government has to change in order to meet the 21st century needs and resources. And so really encapsulating the idea of like, where are we within this region and what can we do to drive a better region for all, not just within Webster Groves. So that's kind of like, we try to build a road that where we are today, and then it's called Progress Road, obviously, and incorporating more people, not necessarily by annexation or anything, but like the way that we think about how we use resources, share resources, build for the future, looking at us more as a collaborative entity within the region rather than just as an isolated region or an isolated entity.
I thought you gave us a traffic circle.
That would be wonderful.
See how that'll go.
Like Parkland Am, right? Like that.
So I saw some real excitement, all these discussions, with the values, of course, but as you were going through this exercise, you were getting excited about it. It opened up your minds to what we can be if we want to be better than we are now. So that's the purpose of that value statement. That vision.
So these are some words I heard that I think were important. Variety of buildings by size and sustainability. connections of neighborhoods, which kind of equates to maybe one community. Diverse population, variety of housing might also go up with that. Everyone thrives, I heard more than once. Being an attractive destination. Whether it be for shops, people to live, etc. Being financially secure, being generous and therefore welcoming. Our people are healthy. Being the best in St. Louis County, being progressive and demonstrating progress, leading in the region. And collaborating with other entities. Now I want you to look through those and think. What are the, let me see. Think of the 5 words that you think are most important to include, and you're gonna take a marker and just come up and put a dot beside it. What are the 5 that you're like, boy, that really illustrates where we want to be in the future? Everybody just take a marker, it doesn't matter what color it is. And then put your dot like right above it. If that's the one you want, just put it right above it. That makes sense? Take your time, when you're ready, just go on up. You get 5. Most important. Because some of these might end up being strategies. Won't lose any words. That's cool. Some of them might end up being strategies. Yeah. When the vision state, you want to be able to tell people in the future we want to be.
Sometimes I don't want to do it, sorry. Oh,
Thank you for not doing more than 5.
I did 5 this time, I did it great.
Okay, thank you. Way to go, Sarah. Appreciate even
then. Even a little.
Couldn't find my dots this morning. Usually I have dots. But I
It's a little
couldn't
sticky.
find them. Yeah, I couldn't find them. It's good to make us do a little work.
You know, this is like crowd, you probably didn't want the dots.
Probably, yeah.
It would be a lot.
I'm basically so shocked.
Exactly. Thank you for not bringing glitter.
Some people tear them in half. Had that happen before. I'm like, that's
Oh,
bad.
you just gave me an idea.
You don't get it happen. Trouble. Lots of good choices.
Okay,
I'm still actually thinking it out, so if you're ready to go.
It's okay if you don't go for your own, because we are people that are willing to accept that we don't know it all, so we're able to accept somebody else's idea. Oh. That was 4.
What time do you want? 1 o'clock.
I might actually.
Your games now, that he was there right after. It happens sometimes now. We just start.
Everybody done?
Can you take them on?
So as you look at this right away, where do we have healthy agreement?
I just kept going on.
Welcoming. Financially secure.
Diverse population,
Diverse population,
connection of neighborhoods.
lead in region.
And we have 4 on variety of housing and everyone thrives.
Variety of buildings.
Variety of build. Can we put buildings and housing together?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I had in my head.
I thought maybe, so why don't we just like X that one even off?
So that gives it 5 and.
Add another dot.
Plus housing.
By the same number,
Same
votes, that
thing.
would be circled then.
Right.
Well, the only ones we're not doing are.
Well, it depends on if the same person did variety of housing and variety of buildings, because then they would have 2 dots at variety of buildings.
Yeah, it's just one on variety of
And what
housing.
is
We just
the-
added these.
what's that seamless connection of neighborhoods?
Yeah, and that one's not up there.
That is true. The
Um,
person that picked variety of
No, I
housing
mean,
picked
it's
variety.
like
of
that
buildings.
green.
Oh, yeah. Conceptually, do you have any problem with combining these two concepts?
No.
Yeah.
Both of them
For
are-
connection of neighborhoods and diversity.
Yeah.
No, one
No,
community.
one community.
One community where neighborhoods are connected or
Okay.
something. Works with me a little bit.
That's your access.
Yeah, I think we'll do the same with West and St. Louis County and leading the region.
I have a hard time with Best in St. Louis.
Well, I put my dot there, but I'm looking at
Yeah, that seems a little.
the leader in the region.
Seems a little wet.
Best in St. Louis County, that just sort of seems like you're comparing
Little
yourself there
elitist,
to
little
not.
elitist.
And we have a tendency to be that, so I don't like that. Yeah.
Well, I only got 2, so there's only 2 down here. This actually probably is a strategy,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're going to be
Mhm.
financially secure, you might look at what are some things we can combine and do with another community because it's more fiscally responsible.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that as kind of a strategy. anyway. So our vision would be that we have a variety of buildings or houses. We have we're one community where all neighborhoods are connected. We have a diverse population, we're financially secure, and we're welcoming and lead in the region. That's it.
What are you laughing at?
There's parts of it that are like wholly cultural and parts of it are just built environment strategy.
Right.
Exactly.
So like,
So that's my next question. Thank you for leading us right there. Is there anything up there that really is a strategy? Let me,
Well, attractive.
like, in my mind, this
Yeah.
might be a strategy to get here.
Right.
Or
And
also to
get
get
here,
diverse,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Because if you
And
don't
also
have any,
financially secure too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
is that fair?
So
So
should our
this is
vision
actually
be
a
well-
strategy, but we wouldn't want to lose this concept. We just want to save it
Welcome to.
for when we go strategies. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Can I mark that as a strategy? And just don't worry, I'll type this upward.
That's what I'm wondering about attractive destination. It was like we all wanted it, but it's not really.
How do we get there?
Financially secure is kind of a strategy too, isn't it? I mean, we want to be financially secure for.
I would hope that'd be a given, that you want to be financially secure.
If we don't say it, people get upset with us, so we have to say it.
I think it's our
But you've
only
got it
job
in
that's
your
required
value,
in
you're
the
good
charter.
stewards of your money. You've got it in your core value.
That's a mission.
Oh,
that you-
good.
Yeah.
right, I mean, if we have it in the value, I would say that that's not part of your vision, because all that in the vision should feed that, right? I mean, theoretically.
You gotta have this to get to your vision.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's a given.
So that we don't need it in the vision statement. It's
I
not.
don't think you need it in the vision
No.
statement. I think it's a strategy that you need to have in the future. And it
But
ought to be.
it's a given. I mean, look at where we are currently and where previous councils have led us, or, administrations,
Isn't that why it's a major goal then? I think.
I think it hasn't been a vision, like that's part of the problem over the past couple of
It's been
years.
assumed.
It's been assumed that, hey, everything's hunky dory in
Right.
Webster Groves, but,
It's not.
and I don't think there weren't the hard questions asked of why we're investing in this and not that, or why we.
I don't disagree with you, David. I just don't know if it's the vision of the community we want is financially secure, if it's a strategy that brings us to the community we want, right?
Allows us
I mean, you still should ask those hard questions.
That's
You
what we need
understand
to
my
allow
difference?
us to do.
Yeah.
I don't need this to be in your plan.
Yeah,
I don't know that it needs to be in the words that describe your vision or where you want it to be. You certainly just read the newspaper.
yeah,
You gotta have this in your plan.
Yeah.
I would see it kind of like this. These are avenues to get to everywhere else. Not that these are bad concepts, but you're probably gonna have a goal in terms of variety of housing and buildings, whatever, architecture. Would probably be more global word. So that you don't feel like your house has to have pillars to live in, you know.
Yeah.
If we value diversity, we value
Yeah.
diversity in the type of buildings we have, so for sure, so.
So I'm looking at the criteria that we had up before about realistic, attractive, whatever, and applying that to financially secure. And it. Being financially secure does bridge the present and the future. It establishes a standard of excellence. It creates, I don't know if it creates meaning. Maybe for some, it attracts commitment and energizes people.
Doesn't commitment, yeah. I don't know about that.
And then realistic, credible, attractive, and future, those were kind of.
If I was giving the 30-second elevator sales pitch about what Webster Groves wants to be, I don't know that I would talk about, we want to be financially secure.
And that's what I was gonna say, that implies we're not financially secure now.
We're not.
Not too far off.
We're doing better than we have been.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just teasing.
Figured it out.
Let's just say we hadn't been in the past. But when somebody sees that in the vision statement, that implies that we're not financially secure now.
Or that our goal is financial.
It's a
Our
goal.
vision is
It's a
already.
goal.
And I don't think that really is your, it's gotta be a goal in my mind. It has to be a goal. I think you guys would be remiss if you didn't have it.
It's our only job in the charter.
I disagree with that, because the charter lays out service provisions that we have to.
Fair.
It is a process we need to use under state law, right? Because eventually we have to have balanced budget.
Yeah.
We can't rely on reserves, but I just don't want it to be
Yeah.
defined as the only thing we have to be, because we have to provide services. That's our reason for existence.
Well, and remember, the vision is not just about the boardroom. The boardroom's about implementing the goals to get to the vision,
Yeah.
to decide tactics to get to the goals so that the vision can be a reality. And so, once this is done, you're gonna focus most of your work on achieving the goals and implementing the strategies and tactics to get to those goals. Does that make sense? Sometimes we want something to be all inclusive and it just really can't be. Nor should it be. Or it's something that doesn't say anything.
Right, it loses its.
Right. I mean, some of the key words I see up here, if we keep this as a strategy and we keep that as a strategy. And I can't imagine that this wouldn't be, honestly, and I can't imagine that this wouldn't be, based on some of the conversations that are already happening in the community, that they wouldn't be. Either strategies or goals, depending upon what words you use. But one community, diverse, welcoming, and lead in the region.
And that's it.
We could make into, and everybody thrives is not too far behind. Yeah, where everybody thrives. All we need to do that is, and I'm happy to work on it, or I'm happy to have somebody else take these concepts and create a statement. The words might be close to being the same, but they might have to shift a little bit so it makes sense and it flows nicely. And if there's nobody that wants to do it, I'm happy to take a couple of stabs at it, or I'm happy to come to somebody's house and work at it, or Pam probably could do it with her background in marketing and et cetera. But
The fellow committee want to work on that?
Oh, I guess we could, yeah.
yeah, that would be a good task for the
Committee.
subcommittee. Okay, okay,
I like, that's good.
all right. And what I will give you will be, I'll give you the concept that you need to weave in.
But what were
Yeah.
the concepts you wanted to have, or you concluded we in?
So one community connection of neighborhoods, something like that, diverse population, everyone thrive, welcoming and leading region.
Everyone thrives, sounds a little utopian.
What's wrong with that?
It's a vision statement. It's not a concrete.
But
like-
we're a government, we should give realistic expectations to our citizens.
So we're a municipal government. If we were up,
The vision is community. It's not just what government's gonna do. Right? We are as government writing this, but it's an aspiration for something beyond. I mean, really, how are we gonna do the welcoming part? We can't do the welcoming part unless our community is on board about being welcoming.
Right.
So I would just, I understand your point and I agree with you, and I'm the one who keeps talking about service provision, so I think you understand that I'm on that, but I also don't want our aspiration to be such that it is not really defining a community that we want to live in and we want to be.
I also think there are governments that give people the tools to thrive. Maybe not American governments, but there are governments that do that.
Oh,
And so,
I agree, but this assumes that we're gonna ensure the thriving aspect of everyone.
What if
not
we
ensuring
changed
it
the word?
is an aspiration.
Can I ask this question? What if we didn't say everyone thrives, where citizens thrive, or where people thrive? If you're valuing people or individuals thrive or whatever, you don't have to say everyone.
Are equipped to thrive.
Something, yeah, change the word. I think everyone is the one that's bothering you, because there's gonna be some people that maybe choose not to access sources. All right, then we're not gonna get to everyone. I wouldn't want to say who that everyone's gonna be, because in my mind, our goal would be. There's who is it you don't want to try to get to? It's kind of like the mission statement for the school district. Every student has academic and personal success. Yeah, that is my fundamental mission in life. The reality is, we're not there yet, and so we gotta keep working.
Might have citizens and businesses, right?
Why don't we let the subcommittee do that? And then, it's never done until the council votes.
So can I make a suggestion for the subcommittee? Because this is going to turn into a train wreck trying to write this, that everyone comes to that subcommittee meeting having at least worked on their own draft. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Or I'm happy to write a draft even as an outsider.
Great.
For us to respond to.
Yeah, because otherwise
I
we're
like
gonna
it.
spin
One or the
wheels.
other.
Yeah, I
We can
agree.
do one or the other.
Should we let Sarah get us started and then? comment
I
on
think we
Sarah?
should let
Should
Sarah
ask the
get it.
chair. Since-
Oh, yeah, he's not here.
Well, maybe he wants to do it.
That's true. Let's ask. the
Good
chair.
point.
Or Emerson and I could do it.
But while he's out of the room, let's delegate it to him.
Are we writing a vision statement for Webster Grove city government, not Webster Grove's the community?
I thought community.
I thought it was for the community, because that's why I asked the same question about the mission statement. It's the mission statement of the city, right? Not the mission statement of the.
I keep it true on the separation.
The city council and the city employees are the ones that will drive.
At the service of the community. That's
Right, you're here to serve the community.
What was
So
that?
Emerson, the question is, do you want your subcommittee, each one of them to draft a statement and bring it to your meeting? Or would you like you or I, or you and I to draft one for them to reflect upon at your subcommittee meeting?
I was just saying, starting from zero is not
I
going
totally
to be
agree.
productive
I totally agree.
or as productive.
I've usually done it where a couple of people go off to the side and they do it. And then bring it to the group to reflect.
Well, if that's okay, subcommittee, you and I can.
You and I will be.
Yes,
Yes, that sounds. great.
Excellent.
All right.
I was waiting, when was like either one would be fine.
All right, we'll draft. Got it. And then. Everybody's got an assignment to work on one of the values, so you've got a little piece of that. I'm just taking that off, so you're not looking at it. And Bud, I think
That was a really cool exercise, Sarah.
well, thanks. We've done that, so we need to now go. There we go. We got 10 minutes to just kind of wrap up.
This is always the hardest part for us.
To put things in perspective, this is the very beginning of a long process. Like I said, the real work is going to come after this vision is established and accepted by the council. We hand it to Lee and Eric and say, go do this. Okay. That's what it's gonna be, I think, with your help, obviously. So putting together the steps for each of the goals that
I gave you the vision
will
statement
supplement, or, not supplement, sustain each one of these steps in the vision. How are we gonna accomplish those? What's the timeline that will shoot for to accomplish it? And again, remember, this is a living document. Anything can change in it at your will. And group. So, what's the timeline we'd like to see that first step be taken? And say it has 5 steps to it. You don't get to step 2 necessarily until you step in step 1. But some cases, you'll have multiple responsibilities where they can be operating independently. So there's 5 steps to complete that goal. There's a timeline for each one of them. And there's a person responsible for seeing that the work gets done to achieve that goal. And I might be wrong in this, but in my view, that's the department director. And a lot of this is gonna fall like on Laura Perry. I think.
I'm talking about what's happening right now, like, what,
But let's talk in the future about the goals that
Yeah.
we create and the strategy implementation.
okay.
How about if we jump ahead to a couple of real easy things, all right? We want to make sure everybody stays informed, so once we pick a date, if for some reason all of a sudden you can't come on that date, somebody that was there will contact you one-on-one and make sure you're filled in.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And you'll always receive all the notes and documents. Because we realize some people's schedules are tighter and more cumbersome than others, right? So we good with that? All right. We had considered, once the values are written, doing a survey with most likely employees and all members of the commissions, boards, etc., to gain their feedback on what's your level of support for each of these values.
I would argue we have to have a public component to that.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I took notes at the meeting, so,
Yeah.
yeah. But at least, yeah, we could actually hope that the boards and commissions will.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think this was kind of a first round, like, we were thinking like, this would be a preliminary kind
Exactly.
of like, the gut check with the boards and commissions and everybody.
Well, but I also don't want anyone to feel like they're being excluded from the process even at this point.
Okay.
I'm
And
good
they
with
need to
that.
be there at the beginning.
We did that in the school district, and we had like, I think it was like 1,900 people responded, which was pretty good. Because the survey was short and sweet, listed the values, what's your level of agreement? Any others you want to add? 7th graders added courage, so we added courage.
Mhm.
Would have never thought of that myself.
Pretty good. for some graders.
It was very good for some graders. Now, the problem is, when are we gonna meet next to do some of this? It's moved to finalize the work from today. So we'll bring a vision statement to be looked at, agreed upon, hopefully. Work on the vision statement, the mission statement, because that didn't get done today, sorry. And look at the core values one last time, people go out and do a survey. You know what, survey until you're sure you're at a good spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Our hope was, I think, to have a full day on a Saturday. That's what our hope was. Don't know that that will happen, but now it's in your guys' hands to figure out the date, and you only have 7 minutes to do so. I believe in beginning and ending on time, and Emerson would like to do a little bit of a debrief.
So Saturday, just for clarification, before the end of the year, Saturday by the end of January, what do we?
That's
the
that's
timeframe for
that's for you
regrouping?
folks to decide.
So to me, the question becomes before that, though, is the subcommittee has work to do before we all get back together. Right?
Yes.
And so in some ways, we've got to leave a couple of weeks for that work to be done. So we're really talking probably sometime in November at the very earliest.
I'll say that.
I also would like us as a council to set a goal for when this process is completed. We have in the past sometimes let things like this go on over months and months and months. And, we live in a 2-year cycle here in terms of elections. And in order to really have something together that prioritizes for us to move forward, I don't think we can let this go out 9 months, 6 months even, probably, to me, is like, as far as frankly, I'm willing to go. I prefer 4, I prefer early in the year.
And I actually had a thought, because I was gonna ask the question, this process, how far is this gonna go? And what is this doing to hamper other decisions that we need to
Yeah.
make? I mean, there's things that we need to talk about in terms of revenue strategies that, and we've had conversations saying, well, it's gonna depend upon our strategic plan and this and that. How far is this gonna go, and how is this going to hamper or impact our ability to make other decisions?
Just to throw in related to that, the Charter Review Advisory Board came up in their first meeting. Do we have values? Do we have a mission statement that's updated that they should be paying attention to while they do their work? And I promised them we'd have something. Maybe I was foolish to do that, but I hope I was just being optimistic.
Oh, did they ask for it?
They did.
They asked for it, what are they?
Let me just give you my feelings on it. This is tough. This is gonna take a lot of work, so my recommendation is that you set at least a monthly meeting every month for a given period of time.
Yeah, but our discussion in council was really not to do that, in part because what Pam put together for us really summarizes a lot of what we would be doing in those meetings. Am I being unfair in characterizing that?
No, when I looked at it, I felt that way. Yeah,
Um,
but you've got a good start already.
yeah,
On some of your
so-
goals, tactics and et cetera. Yeah.
So to me, I thought our conversation as a council was that this part was gonna be the hardest, this early part, because once we do that, a lot of things that we're already working on, some of the things that Karen's talking about fit pretty easily under these. And part of this for us is a exercise in prioritization of to me, it's not just how can staff implement these? What do we want staff to work on first, second, and third? What do we as a council want to work on first, second, and third? Because everybody's agenda is tight. I'm not sure it's realistic to say we're gonna have a monthly meeting and, keep going in that way. I'll stop talking. Somebody
You
else
make a
needs
good
to.
point about you gotta get the staff involved. And my recommendation is the quicker the better.
But we have 2 assignments out there already that we have to complete.
Right.
So
yeah.
let's just.
Let's get that
focus,
done,
Get that
yeah.
done, and then we can see where we're at. And I think another task for the subcommittee is to look at all the information that Pam put together, the information what we had last year,
Yeah.
October, and what we learned here. And see where we're at. Then we can talk about next meeting.
So do we need to schedule the subcommittee meeting and then?
I think we should schedule the other one and then find us time in between for the subcommittee.
Yeah. Everybody, yeah.
The reason I say get them involved as soon as possible is because some of the things you talked about today that are really great, they may have a different view on. Okay, so if you want to spend a lot of time developing what we've already done before they're involved, maybe for not.
Most of what is on that list of what we've already done, staff has already been involved in to some degree. So that it won't, none of those are, I don't think, new to staff.
No, and when I looked at some of the staff responses on the.
Yeah.
document
It's in
Marie
there.
gave, They were,
There
pretty
were-
in line.
And there were some commission things going on in that map, which staff is already tied into.
So what are we talking about for dates? Is that what we need to do?
Date for our next.
This
planning
is-
meeting.
this next-
Yeah.
The whole day, yeah. How's the 19th? November.
That looks good to me. Think.
That looks good.
I know I can't be here, but so
And that,
I had written Emerson and said, I've got.
Yeah.
Several weeks where I'm actually not even in. Missouri, so.
I will not be available. Are you?
On the
at
19th?
I'm at NLC.
So we're both already have work commitments.
Okay.
Eric will be at. In Kansas City. so
It was just the first thought.
No, no,
We're just-
well, no,
Yeah,
and
start it
should
all.
we not meet because Marie and Eric can't?
Absolutely. That's a great question.
I think it's super helpful to have.
There's
Wonderful.
probably gonna be somebody in here that can't be on a given day.
What about the 12th?
Of November.
Could do the morning.
I thought we said we're done all day as in 9 to 5.
Is that one?
I'll be out of town.
Okay.
12th is out. 26th is the weekend, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, that stuff.
Yeah, I'll be out
Do
too.
we want to try for the fifth?
November.
Who's not here? Marie's not here.
I won't be here.
Will you be here?
I will be here.
Is it okay with you if we have Eric and don't have you?
You should ask yourselves that.
And you should ask more than that. It comes back to a whole different form of government. so.
Yeah.
That's a different group, Eric.
Does the 5th work for other people?
Only if we all go to Webster Sings right after. Is that date again?
Just checking.
November 6th.
Saturday, November 5th.
November 5th.
Sarah, can you do
Sarah and
that?
Bud.
I have family in town. I could do morning and not do after.
Okay.
I can't just leave them.
No, I perfectly understand.
Either that or I really don't at all. There's a possibility they won't come, but.
Okay.
not a good one. I mean.
I can make that possibility work for him. I could, you know,
Yeah.
contaminate your house. What do you need me to do, Sarah?
So November the fifth, at what time? What time?
If we could start earlier, hopefully we can end earlier. I'm not saying, you know,
Is 8 o'clock out of the?
Oh, my God, you know, no, it's not.
I'm glad I wasn't the one to say it.
I mean, I barely get out of work at 6 and 7 o'clock at night. I don't wanna have to get up Saturday morning
So
at 6
what time
o'clock
is a
to be
good
here
time?
at 9:30. I was still.
9:30 to 12:30?
No, we're doing it full day,
Oh, no, full day. 9:30 to what?
5.
5?
What are we gonna do at the next meeting? I'm confused.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about, like, we had enough on the.
Oh, so we're gonna,
Well,
we're gonna do vision.
I mean, I
We're gonna look at
wonder,
those missions.
given what you were just saying, I thought we were gonna come back, finalize what we've done here. Then we have to start, can you go back to the other slide?
You're gonna start your major goals and strategies. Some of which are already drafted.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry, Sarah, we're overtime.
create goals and strategies.
The one you have to get to a basketball.
And then we go back to the subcommittee, right? Because the subcommittee, once we have major goals and strategies, we'll put them with our different things.
All we're doing is
you know.
repackaging.
So maybe we do a full morning with everybody and then the afternoon with the subcommittee.
That works.
That works.
We could not, it could be like the quicker we can kind of get.
Or if the
together.
subcommittee's tired, they can reschedule for.
We can all go, do it.
Lunch.
I have this thing about how can we be thinking out of the box and doing things fun if we're in the same place all the time. It would be nice to be out in our,
Different
even
locations.
just sitting out on the lawn there or something.
On November the 5th. It's gonna be cold as hell.
We're talking about the subcommittee or this,
Both,
when subcommittee, we can decide to meet wherever we.
yeah,
How
yeah,
about if the subcommittee also decides where this meeting will take place?
I like that.
Yeah, let's do that. And then we can-
But let's keep in mind, it's a public meeting
Yeah.
that people have to have access to. I think it's good for recordings to be available. They don't have to be available. I thought we did really well in this space. I'm not trying to beat down your idea, but
Go downstairs.
I'm with you.
I just feel like. Yeah, I've already said my yes.
I do understand where you're coming. from.
I do too. I really do.
Feeling a little like a rec center or, yeah, like a great room.
Okay, so I think fundamentally,
Library.
we need to, the subcommittee can decide how
Okay.
important is this to be recorded? And, you know, we've already
Mhm.
talked about some of what our values are.
But this isn't the only place we can record.
Well, it's, would you like to comment?
So it can be done at the rec center, but it is really hard. We have to take all equipment there. Every microphones. I mean, it's a lot of setup and it's didn't.
How about the
record incredibly
library?
great.
Is that? do
They
have,
don't,
you know?
they don't have the capacity for this many speakers. They have one microphone.
There are some other options that Eric brought up a good one the other day, Webster University. There's some other options, but the rec center is difficult. So we can, if the subcommittee decides so, we can explore some other options.
Let's get through the subcommittee and we'll meet, so we can bring this back to you and then we'll talk about meetings.
May I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
We talked about, we're gonna draft the vision. Are we gonna do any work on the mission, or is that wait till the next week, the next work session?
I think if you have time as a subcommittee, maybe go ahead.
Okay.
And
I make a motion that the subcommittee be allowed to work on the mission and the vision statement.
Rather bring
Not that it
something
needs a
back
formal
for them
motion.
to dissect.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Read it on the phone.
I have a question,
Mhm.
that may have been unclear. Is it the council's expectation on November 5th, the directors are there?
No.
That's what I needed to know, because if it is, I need to let people know now.
No.
Okay, thank you. For the clarification.
So we're just a half day
For
on
everybody.
November 5th.
And then the committee members stay after.
Yeah.
So 3 people get to go.
That'd be good.
What's your part-time committee?
All right. We said 12:30 and it's 12:35. Are there other decisions that you can make?
This is as close to adjourning as I've been in a long time.
Members,
Can we
doing any
figure out
quick feedback?
Yeah, pull it up real quick. Yeah, but so just a feedback, what do you feel went well today?
Everyone worked well.
Yeah, I thought
Everybody-
both those projects, I mean, were really good. The
I like the breakout
Exercise,
sessions.
I like those, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Breakout sessions were good. Putting things on paper during the breakout sessions was good.
It was
I think we all played well together.
I still, it still feels like to me, all we're doing is rehashing the same stuff we've already discussed and repackaging.
We might be a little bit.
So
And that's,
why are we wasting, not wasting, why are we spending staff time and citizen time doing so when we could do so without this?
we want to everybody can be on the same accord. I mean, so we have one thought, one.
For the reasons at the beginning of this session.
That will change.
It might change. You never know.
And so that we can say it.
What are we gonna
Public.
accomplish for the citizens of Webster Groves by doing this?
the whole thing or the next meeting or?
I don't know. I don't think we're accomplishing anything productive for the citizens of Webster Groves at this point. I'm okay going through this rigmarole, but at this point, I don't see any concrete things that have been accomplished for the citizens of Webster Groves today.
I think we should go back and measure against what we said at the thing at the beginning about why are we doing a strategic plan and see if anything we've accomplished today can be,
Put on that graph.
yes, measured against what we said the purpose of the strategic plan is for. And we could also put the lens of what's it doing for the community.
So that's a suggestion for the future.
Yeah, maybe we update based on
Mhm.
that slide. Keep
You
the
bet.
slide the same and just
Right,
Just move it.
reflect on that.
add bullets.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor, we adjourn?
We're adjourned. Thank you again, Todd and Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.